And it's pretty fucking alarming that they're having this conversation very matter-of-factly with you, even if you are describing yourself as the entertainment. In 2017, this is before COVID, before the rise of AI, before the shit. That is wild.
And these are people who would rather have sex with robots or teenagers than women, right?
Wait a second. Please explain that.
These are people who want to build sex robots. These are people.
The people you were talking to.
Yeah, this is.
They said this?
This is who they are. These are the Epstein kinds of people. They're talking about the culture that we're talking about, right? The culture that we're looking at, the billionaire tech bro culture. What are their values? What do they want? How many wives do they want? Who do they want the wives to be? How much power do they want those people to have?
Right. Can you put the camera on Doug real fast, Steve?
Yeah, it's on.
Let me just write this down on my band. Was that one of them?
Oh, one of the, is that on the camera?
It's not on the camera. You're on camera right now. Yeah, but you couldn't see it on that, but let's make sure that's edited. Was that one of them?
If you want to know.
It's off record.
That's one of them.
God damn it, bro. God damn it. That's so.
But that's
so.
Yeah.
Doug, I see you joined the Club of Rome. What's going on there?
Isn't that cool? They asked me.
Is it cool?
Yeah. Club of Rome. We go clubbing. You know, Club of Rome was this thing they started in like 1970, 71. They wrote this thing called The Limits to Growth. And it was this way early, like before people really knew about pollution and climate and all that, saying, if capitalism keeps growing like this, there might not be enough planet to support what's happening, you know? And they basically predicted all this stuff that was going to come down the pike, you know, by 2000, 2010, whatever. And then 2000, 2010 comes and it's like way worse than they said.
Way worse than they said.
Way, way worse.
Now, aren't they based on like Malthusian economics in the sense that they think the population will grow too fast for us to have enough sustenance growing at the same rate?
Yes and no. I mean, Malthus went worse than that. I mean, he went to total collapse. But yeah, the belief is that you know, in theoretical systems like capitalism or mathematics, you can keep growing something forever. But that the belief is that the planet has a fixed amount of matter on it, you know,
right?
And it can only support so much, that it's like one giant flower pot,
right? And
you can only grow so much stuff on it before you crash it.
Sure. How do you get invited into the
That
Club
was weird.
of Rome?
You know, I think I have one of two hypotheses, because now that I'm in, I've seen some of the emails that they send out, like about finding new members. And in those emails, they're saying things like, find people that you wouldn't normally think to be here. You know, atypical people who have, you know, different media followings. And so I might have been part of that campaign. I feel more likely I'm part of that one than part of the one to find trusted, you know, scholars of environment. But no, I did. I mean, that's partly that book, that book, Survival of the Richest, about the billionaires, because this was a book that really laid out the what is this kind of awful mindset that leads people to want to just grow exponentially forever.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't that work? You know, why is the only thing in nature that grows exponentially forever is cancer, and it kills its host? So I was writing about that, and I think they're like, oh, this is a good new way of expressing what they've been trying to express, you know.
Hey guys, 3 quick things. Number 1, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's a huge, huge help. Number 2, if you'd like to join my Patreon for early uncensored releases of the full episodes, you can join via the link in my description or in the pinned comment below. And number 3, if you'd like to join my clipping community for a chance to make content from the show and make money, you can join via the Discord link in my description below.
And from a different perspective, not of, oh, we have to deny ourselves things, but rather let's get into the greeny fun of life rather than worrying about growing more towers.
Now, what is the invite like though? Does like a man in a black hat come knock on your door and be like, Douglas,
Copters.
you've been selected.
No, they're like it's mostly. I mean, Club of Rome. It's not like they have money and buildings, and it's not like Bilderberg. It's more like a woman who was a former assistant to a UN person emails and says, would you be interested?
Is it in code like John? What was John Kiriako's code? Like the Knights. The Knights and Fields and poppies and whatever and seeds and got it all. And it's like, all right, so I gotta go to the dumpster.
No, it's like it's not like a secretive society. Everybody who's in it, their name's on the website, and they're all like.
So I can go in? They'll let me just like walk in?
Well, there's no in.
There's no in?
There's no place. Even.
I feel like that's what someone on the inside would say.
I wish there was a place. No, I mean, so far for me, it's been email. It's been email. No, and they had Zooms, but it'll be like there's someone in India, there's people in Africa, they're around, and they're mostly people who used to be in politics, like the ex-minister of this or the ex-one of that, or people who've written books on the climate and the economy. But they're, it's not like... I've been to things that are way more interesting than
way more
than
interesting.
That. Yeah. Or been invited. I got invited to that Hereticon thing. That would have been way more.
Oh, the Peter Thiel thing down in South America.
Yeah, but it was like no, it wasn't. It was in New Orleans.
Oh, it was
not
in
quite
New Orleans?
South America. Yeah, it was New
Very
Orleans.
close.
Yeah, close. Closer to there to South America than New York. But
can we pull up the schedule for that again, Deef? The Hereticon schedule. I was just talking to Pomp about that.
I emailed because I didn't go then because it was like right smack in the early worst COVID time.
Right.
And I was like, wife and kid. I didn't want to be exposing people to stuff. But I would have gone. It just was sort of an exciting idea. But that's like more secret.
Seems very secret. Yeah, I just, Doug, when you look at stuff like this and you're like me and Deef and everyone listening pretty much right now and you're not a part of these worlds and you don't really understand it, you read things and all the different types of subject matters they're going throughout the day and then the types of people who are attending and you're like, this seems a little a little odd.
Exactly. That one, like the goal is immortality, right? I mean, fuck. That's like, that was why.
Psychedelic tea party, Trist burlesque, cyborg.
Yeah.
Could a human be an ape?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Where the Club of Rome would be more like encouraging better water policy in the southern states of India.
Right.
It's really sweet, that the ultimate version of the kind of, Eurozone do-gooder, let's collaborate, international cooperation. And now all they're really trying to do is, from what I can tell, is really more almost like promotion publicity of green good stuff.
Club of Rome's trying to do that.
Yeah. It's not like Bilderberg kind of. There's no.
Have you ever been to Bilderberg?
No, but I've heard about it.
All right, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. That's a check mark.
Marshall McLuhan, the great media theorist, the original. He went to Bilderberg.
Great, goddamn.
He was there.
They get all the goats. Why?
I know, in the '60s, but no, they haven't.
What have you heard about it?
I met a guy. I was at a conference and I was sitting next to a guy who was apparently a former president of Switzerland, which I thought was like really big deal. But it turns out they have like a different president every year. They just like pick them from some giant group. Yeah.
Really?
They don't elect the president. It's like picked from like one of their parliamentary people. So he kept saying it's not a big deal. And I said, yeah, but you know. And he goes, yeah, what would you like to know? And I said, tell me, have you ever been the Bilderberg group? What is that? Whatever. And he goes, it's all has-beens.
Oh, it's all has-beens.
Yeah, it's all like people who used to run things and used to be. I said, yeah, but there's ex-presidents in there. And he goes, yeah, ex-presidents.
When was this conversation with him?
Oh my God. 2005, 6, around there.
Interesting. Yeah, the guest list this year had some pretty active people in there.
That's what I think. If they got do they have the tech people coming now? Like,
yeah. They had Thiel, they had Karp.
There you
They
go.
had like Fareed Zakaria from media. They had the current head of MI6. Like, seems like they're up in their game a little bit, right?
They're back.
Yeah, something's going on there. But when you when you join something like a Club of Rome or something like that, I think where people at home look at these organizations and go like, all right, what the fuck? It's more because they're thinking to themselves, all right, why is it all these people from all these different countries, got a lot of good diversity in these groups for sure, minus the, I guess, like class diversity. But, you know, all these different people who weren't elected in any of these countries get together to discuss like what policies should be around the world and stuff. You could see why people run wild with
if
that,
they
right?
did that. Yeah.
If
but
they
you'd
did
have to think, where is there a group of a few hundred people who've, a lot of them have touched government or academics, actually actively thinking about how are we going to stop this train from going off a cliff? In other words, if I mean, maybe you don't, some people don't believe that humans have any impact on the environment or the climate, but some of us believe that there's like microplastics in the ocean. Some of us believe the water table is threatened, you know, and those of us who do would love for us to have alternatives to that.
Yeah.
And if we see, okay, you know, I would normally want to say, okay, my government could maybe do some of that. And then when I see, oh, well, they really hate solar and they really hate wind, they're discontinuing all that, they're really pushing oil, then I think, oh, well, maybe it would be good to have a bunch of us promoting these ideas publicly or getting some research funded that could actually show, oh, look, the ocean's getting really hot.
Yeah, I think this is what makes all these conversations hard, because this exists on either side of the spectrum with any of them, whether we're talking fossil fuels, whether we're talking some domestic political issue or whatever. You'll get research done, but it's always funded by a group that wants a certain outcome. So you guys want an outcome, and then like I had Randall Carlson in that seat a few weeks ago who has the opposite view on climate change. I've had people from both ends of that here who would probably want to fund something that has the opposite outcome, and it just ends up being a bunch of studies with a bunch of numbers run by a bunch of people in a bunch of places that we don't see, and then everyone looks at it and goes, well, they say that and I say that, and it's hard to make sense of it.
Right. Well, it's why you got to look at who's behind what, right?
It's the middle of the summer. You're not sleeping well, and chances are your mattress is a big part of the reason. Heat is one of the biggest disruptors of deep sleep, and most mattresses make it worse, not better. GhostBed builds cooling into every mattress from the ground up. Not as an upgrade tier, not as something you pay extra for, just part of how every mattress in their lineup is made. They're a family-owned company with more than 20 years of manufacturing experience, and their focus has always been on quality materials and construction, so you get comfortable sleep that's designed to last. Every GhostBed mattress also includes their ProCore support layer, which reinforces the center of the mattress where your body puts the most weight. Not sure which model is right for you? Head on over to ghostbed.com/Julian, that link is in my description below, and take their mattress quiz. Answer a few quick questions about how you sleep, and you'll get a personalized recommendation from their collection. No guesswork required. GhostBed has more than 100,000 positive reviews online. Their mattresses are made in the USA and Canada. They give you a 101-night sleep trial, fast and free shipping, and a warranty of up to 25 years. Twice what most brands offer. And their sleep experts are also always available in case you have any questions before you buy. Right now, GhostBed's summer sale takes $250 off mattress bundles. And as a listener of my show, you're going to get an extra 10% off the top of that by using code Julian at checkout. So head on over to ghostbed.com/Julian, link in my description below, and use promo code Julian at checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Julian, promo code Julian. Some exclusions apply. See site for details.
So usually, I mean, this is an argument I don't have to make. Usually when you look at the people who are funding the science that the environment is not at all threatened are usually big companies that are pouring stuff into rivers or taking Native American lands and building chip factories. Usually the people that are funding the studies to figure out how the ocean is doing are people involved more in civics organizations, kind of more humanitarian, whatever people.
Right.
I mean, someone like me, I guess at best, a conspiracy theorist would just see me as a useful idiot, that I'm someone who, bought into the fantasy that immune diseases are going up, or that our food supply has gotten kind of screwed up. There are easy things you can do though. Like it's not any college chemistry class could look at the amount of vitamins in a plate of broccoli today and compare that to what we knew was in broccoli 50 years ago.
Oh, you're right about that.
It's not there.
Oh, it's nuts.
The minerals aren't there.
It's nuts.
Then you can go, why aren't the minerals there? And you could disagree. You could say the topsoil seems to be screwed up. You can go to South Dakota and talk to the farmers there.
Yeah.
And they can say, well, our soil is getting kind of eroded.
So you went out there and talked with them.
Well, I was at a university there doing a talk to a college there, and I was talking about climate and all. A bunch of kids came up who were the children of farmers there, telling me, you don't know the half of it.
Yeah.
And saying how they're trying to do no-till agriculture to try to preserve the soil and trying
Can you
to use
explain
this.
that to people?
Like so it turns out the soil is not just dirt.
Right.
That soil is this living matrix, and there's mycelia, like these little strands and living things. Soil is this living, it's more like a sponge than it is dirt. And when you turn it over, in order to make it easy to get more seeds and plants and stuff in it, if you use big, gross agricultural machines, you break the soil matrix. You kind of kill the soil and it gets all dry, turns more like sand. Then you got to pour more chemicals on it so something grows. So you go to Monsanto or Genentech or someone, you pour all this crap and you get this kind of steroid growth things, but not, they don't have the nutrients in it. And then the topsoil gets worse and worse and worse, and it gets closer to like the Sahara or something.
Yeah. And Monsanto obviously has our best interests in mind, for sure.
Right. They don't. Right. Now, and it's fine, and they're allowed to have their opinion, but Monsanto makes hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And they spend, like the Koch brothers and a lot of other giant corporations, spend real money on what you're saying, to say the environment is fine. There are no microplastics. And even if there are microplastics in placentas of people everywhere in the world, in Bangladesh, we'll learn to adapt. We'll go to Amgen. We'll do things. Don't worry. We'll have selective reduction of your wombs. We'll do all those things. And they've got hundreds of millions of dollars.
Selective reduction of our wombs?
Whatever. You make like 7 babies so that you can see which ones have the problems and then get rid of.
Oh my God.
It's your basic eugenics. But they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars doing that. I joined Club of Rome and they asked me, can I please donate $500 a year to be a member to pay, so the 200 people in it or whatever it is pay $500 each to fund the whole thing.
The whole club.
Yeah, because that's duh. Right. So
why don't you just call up Pete? I feel like he's got that on the ashtray.
Because Pete, he does, but Pete doesn't like this thing.
Oh,
Pete's the opposite.
He's the
Pete
opposite of that.
believes that we are Satanists. Because what he says, and this is the interesting thing.
He believes Club of Rome are Satanists.
Well, anybody.
That's the pot calling the kettle fucking black.
Yeah, well, he says, he thinks, Greta Thunberg could be the Antichrist, he says, right? I mean, it's a poor little thing. But the idea is he believes that the object of the game here is for a few humans to be Christ-like and transcend to the next level.
And what happens to all of us?
It kind of doesn't matter. But right, as long as a few of us transcend, they've leveled up. That's why his book is called From Zero to One, that you want to exist one order of magnitude above we're the larval stage, right? We're the larva, and they're the ones that sprout the wings. And if we larvae are busy saying, hey, Peter, you shouldn't have $1 trillion. You should only have a few billion. We want some resources here. We're going to spread some around and we're going to give some money to people in Africa so they don't die of Ebola, and that Ebola doesn't come here and kill us too, and all that. He would say, no, but what you're doing by taking his trillions away, by reducing his ability to accumulate trillions, we're like dragging him back down into he was just about to get to ascend.
With money. That's how he's measuring it.
Money and tech. That's how you do it.
Doug, I'm a very, very moderate guy, and I think it's very conducive to being able to do this job.
Yeah.
And so in doing it, I talk to fellow moderate people, and then I also talk to people who on a given issue or a lot of different issues, maybe on one spectrum or the other. And I'm always trying to see like, well, could you see it this way? Or devil's advocates see it that way or whatever. And to me, I mean, I guess it would be way too simple of a solution, but a perfect world for me would be guys like you going into meetings, that we can all get the minutes on out here or see with guys at, I don't know, fucking ExxonMobil or something like that. And being able to say like, okay, I think this, let's go there.
I've tried that one. Well, there was a time before I was as out of the closet as a whatever the hell I am, psychedelic hippie thinker.
You had to come out of the closet for that.
Well, I mean, before it became, I was a little bit. Actually, I kind of started out like that. I started out in the rave scene. Those my first books were on rave, so it was known. But I wrote some books on sort of the business of technology, saying how the in the original .com era, how these companies were going to themselves over by going for growth and losing community and losing the kind of the real spirit of
you were ahead of the curve on that big
it was
time.
like 95 96 I was like, oh no, this is the wrong way, go back. So they would invite me in. I mean, this is the reason I have money. I mean, I don't have Joe Rogan money, but I have money to pay for my podcast. I know that's the sad thing. I can afford.
I think a lot of us don't have Joe Rogan money.
I know, but you at least have a profit. I have money to pay for my podcast. It's a kind of funny thing. That's success. But it's in a weird way. If you're doing it, the podcast for the to help the world, whatever, then it's fine as long as I can fund it somehow. I'm teaching, whatever. But they would invite me to do talks and things. I've talked like Pepsi and big companies and Uber, Facebook, Google. And I feel like they invite me partly as entertainment.
Or to check a box.
In a way, we can almost, I used to think it was like, I used to call myself an intellectual dominatrix.
Intellectual dominatrix.
Like, thank you, sir, may I have another? Like, I'll tell them about how are you the children, the minds of the children with your social media, and why are you using an algorithm on a 10-year-old to make them,
Fair
it's like
questions.
Bad stuff. You're being bad. And then I realized that in some ways, having me there, it kind of helped them feel that was their penance.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. That was their penance. Right enough. You pulling up eyes wide shut. This isn't what the initiation to Club of Rome looked like, right?
Sadly, no.
It
was a Zoom, and they
weren't wearing masks and shit.
No, but there was 3 or 4 of the new ones there, and they welcomed us, and their little, the little icon. They go,
no.
Oh, there's a icon. Have you ever used Zoom?
I don't use Zoom ever.
But you know what it is?
Probably not. No.
It's you talk to other people on the computer with it.
Oh, I know what Zoom is.
Yeah. And then they can hit little buttons to like make applause or hearts or whatever. And you get a little applause from each other.
The people that invented this in '68, if they were still alive, would be like, "What the fuck has happened to us? We've fallen so far."
Yeah, no, they. I mean, it was sweet. I mean, the sad thing is, in '68, '71, when they came out with that thing, it was so widely ridiculed. Just like Rachel Carson, Silent Spring. People didn't. They didn't understand that the whole planet is one big system. That you can't just do something in one place and have it not impact other things. Right.
Now, you were saying early on in our conversation, you were mentioning how there were a lot of different types of predictions that people associated with Club of Rome made in, say, the early 70s that then ended up being correct, but also worse than they said by, say, 2000, 2010. What are some of those things?
Oh, the annual temperature increase, the condition of the ocean, the salinization, the pH of the ocean temperature, the size of north and south poles, the rising water, the spread of certain diseases. And it's interesting because you can look at those metrics, and then you can talk to like one of the like a real pro-tech utopian kind of guy, and they'll say, well, yeah, but to actually look at the annual rate of death from such and such diseases, that's down.
Yeah.
There's certain metrics that you can say, I mean, I can walk around New York and there's way less chance of me getting killed than
Right.
when I was a kid. In spite of that Trump says it's the worst and there's blood in the streets. It's
not like it was in the 70s.
No, U.S. cities are safe, and they're getting safer all the time. I mean, there's medical stuff we can do. Our cancer rates are high, but our chemotherapies are better. There's a lot of things.
They're better?
I think we got better at chemo.
You think we
now.
got better at that?
Yeah, I think there's chemos that don't even make people, as awful. You could be on chemo, it would just be awful.
How many years have we had chemo? What? I never even looked this up. What is it, 50, 60 years maybe, something like that? We can check it, Deef, if I'm off. I apologize. But it's such a nasty thing, and obviously it's a nasty disease, but you got to wonder, 80 years. It's even longer. August 1942 at Yale University when the physicians first did it. So I guess it probably went more mainstream in the next 10, 20 years after that. But either way, it's like, you got to think they got some better shit than that they're just not releasing. I really wonder that, because it's like, look at all the scientific achievements we've done since 1942. You're telling me like one of the number one killers of human beings, we're still using the same kind of treatment, even if it's more improved? Yeah,
well, not to get whatever new agey or even Robert Kennedy on you, but there's other ways. There's other ways. That's part of why we're so concerned about the rainforest going away, is that there's a lot of plants and things in the rainforest that we don't know how to use, that some people there do, and that the people there will tell you, and we don't know they have. I only know 5,000, plants here.
Crazy.
We're still learning more. We're talking to more plants to find out what they do and what they can treat. And the way that they treat them, it's just a different holistic kind of I don't know what to call it. Any word you use is gets like energetic, whatever.
No, I know what you mean. We've talked about it with different people on the show. Like, there's a phrase they have down there in the Amazon where they're like, there's a sap for that instead of an app for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I would imagine you spent some time down there. I only went down there for 2 weeks one time, but like, you talk to the people who have lived there all their life and are healthy as an ox and everything, and they go through, oh, you can use this for that or that for this, and they'll just take it off, bandage a wound real quick. You're like, something's going on there. Right.
And there's stuff, and this is where, the scientists, bless their hearts, they're sometimes slow on the uptake, like the gut biome. Wasn't acknowledged till really recently. And there's more of them than there are of us. It's like, we're just coming to understand that jet lag is more your gut biome than you, because there's all these bacteria. They're so photosensitive, they're or circadian.
Really?
That you go and the bacteria are like, wait a minute.
That's what's doing it?
A lot of it. Yeah.
Can we pull up that? I haven't seen that. Can we pull up that research? That's cool. Yeah, I get bad jet lag. If I can't go to the hotel and take like a 90-minute nap after maybe like a flight to Italy or something like that, like I'm fucked for a couple days. So that could be the gut microbiome. But it controls
a whole lot of stuff though. Our emotions, they're looking at almost, all this different stuff.
Jet lag doesn't just disrupt your sleep. It confuses your gut bacteria. Here it is. When you cross time zones, your microbiome loses its natural rhythm. This microbial jet lag triggers dysbiosis, an imbalance of bacteria, often increasing microbes associated with obesity and inflammation. That second, inflammation, makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Inflammation's everything.
Yeah.
And now we're finding, all these diseases that we're calling autoimmune diseases, a lot of them we're tracing back to like a response to a bacteria that we didn't know how to deal with. Or you get all this dysbiosis and you're sitting there with the wrong bacteria and you're,
that's right.
Wrong is a strong word, but wrong bacteria for the human metabolism in your belly all the time. Eventually, you're some gland or whatever is going to try to kick in, fight that thing.
Yeah. And I think I heard Dr. Amen say this once and it always stuck with me. He's like, the really shitty thing is like when you walk down the street and you walk past all these great restaurants that are usually run by great people, running a great business, trying to give you great food, through no fault of their own, they're all trying to kill you because of all the shit in the food, specifically here in America.
Yeah.
Like, we just got back from Italy again, and you can't eat into gluttony there and not gain weight, but it's amazing when you go there for a week or whatever and you have a good time, you fuck around, you eat whatever you want. Maybe you gain a little weight, but you feel amazing every day. And you're like, how does that, if I ate this in America, I get worse hangovers from food than I do from alcohol.
It's wild. Those kids, I'll tell you, those farm kids in South Dakota, they came to me and they said when they realized that all this stuff was right, was they eat the same foods at college and they eat at home. But when they're in college, they get fat and they feel sick. It's the same exact thing, same portions, and they're like, oh, because the shit they're getting is packaged on trucks from the worst pink meat, whatever factories.
I found out at college, I never like looked into this, but a couple people had told me the first year when I was at school where we all ate out of like the cafeteria there, that the food there they would naturally pack with laxatives. And then it made sense to me because I was shitting I shit all the time in general. I'm pretty healthy, but like in an unhealthy way, I was shitting all the time freshman year. And I'm like, oh, it just must be the partying.
God, they used to do that to soldiers. I know that in the Army. I didn't know they would do that in college. That's
they did
bad.
that to soldiers to make them shit? Don't you want them to
saltpeter.
Keep their food though? You know what I mean? Like,
so they don't have to shit out in the... I mean,
but like they're already rationing food. They're not getting enough usually.
Yeah, but they're not getting fiber. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know. They stopped.
Those MREs aren't great. Yeah. But, you obviously you've been talking about some of the people, but some of your backstory is kind of cool because you alluded to it already. You came up in like the cyberpunk movement and everything.
Yeah.
You liked raves and things like that. How'd you end up like writing about like the future of like dystopian tech? Like, how did that become like, ooh, this is my focus. Here's how I'm going to predict stuff. And as we said earlier, like you've predicted it.
I guess,
some things
but
with
partly
accuracy.
by being more utopian about it. I mean, I was a theater kid originally. I was directing theater.
No kidding.
And I got really sick of theater, partly because I got tired of working with actors. I was just like, if you want to get a fucking psychotherapist, just go do that. Let's work on a play here, not your childhood trauma or whatever. And I understand they're using their sense memory and whatever. It's like you do that at home. Just
do that at home.
Learn the
work.
lines in the play. Can we just try that for once?
You're preaching to his choir over here.
But there was that, and also that the audiences were like so friggin' elite. It was like so expensive. I was doing plays in California, and even at the time, it was like $60, $70 to see a play called Three Penny Opera, right? About so I'm this little lefty Marxist kid doing plays for rich, the rich kind of blue hairs, and I was like, oh, this is not going to work. And just as that was happening, the internet. It was before the internet. Computers were starting, and my most psychedelic friends from college. I went to Princeton right here in New Jersey.
It's a little flex right there.
Well, no, it's actually a shame.
Shame?
I think of it as shame.
Why do you think Princeton?
Because it's like elitist,
Okay, I respect that.
You know what I mean? It's like, and it's so hoity there. And when I went, it was like Southern rock, Confederate flag kind of prep
South
school.
Will Rise Again kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And a rich thing.
Did you know that there's an online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC right to your door? And they found a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients to create gummies, baked goods, and flour for whatever buzz you'd like? Well, the company I'm talking about is Mood.com and their incredible line of functional gummies. And today you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com by using promo code Julian at checkout. That link is in my description below. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that only get you high. Mood's functional gummies are optimized to kick in as little as 15 minutes and take you right to the mood you're looking for. Deef and I personally like Mood's Mind Magic gummies. They're great for focused deep work, but also specifically for enhanced creativity. So when we're having one of those days where we got to come up with all the ideas, we hit the Mood. And like I said, beyond gummies, Mood also has a selection of flour, pre-rolls, bakery treats, and beverages. And I mean, listen, you can pretty much find gummies that just get you high anywhere these days. But Mood's functional gummies combine premium, federally legal THC with targeted botanicals to help you get into the perfect mood, usually in as low as 15 minutes. And everything ships discreetly right to your door. No dispensary lines, no awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered straight to your doorstep. Best of all, not only is every Mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, our listeners are going to get 20% off their first order by using code Julian at checkout. So head on over to Mood.com, link in my description below, find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking for, and let Mood help you discover your perfect mood. And once again, don't forget to use promo code Julian at checkout to save 20% on your order. Try it today at Mood.com.
But there was like 12 psychedelic people at Princeton when I was there, and this is like Reagan, young Republican era. It was a dark time. we were married tripsters, and like 3 or 4 of them were calling me and saying that they were moving to California to be computer programmers, and I'm like, computer programmers? Like the people I knew as computer programmers were like pocket protector wearing, geek guys from high school. And I'm like, why are Grateful Dead heads and psychedelic people and Brian Eno listeners and all these the weirdest, most psychedelic people I know going there to do that? So I went out to San Francisco and started spending time with them. And they're like working at Intel and Northrop Grumman and Apple and whatever during the day. And at night, they're going to Oakland and scraping the peyote buds off cactuses and tripping balls at night.
In O-Town.
Yeah, rendering like fractals on Sun Micro and then projecting the fractals at raves and dead shows and all. And I was like, oh, fuck. Something's happening here, right? So I got really interested in the crossover between psychedelic culture and cyber culture, and realizing that these psychedelic heads of San Francisco were taking originally a war technology, computers, and turning it into a consciousness expansion weird ass thing. They were all
consciousness expansion.
Yeah, like brain machines and fractals and 120 beat per minute music to imitate the fetal heart rate. I mean, a rave was originally meant as a spiritual union of like 1,000 people in a field and have them dance. It was kind of like the original Burning Man thing. It was modeled on what was called the acid tests, which were these psychedelic parties they had. And Ken Kesey and Grateful Dead, they'd go in a barn and have weird music and trip. So all these kids taking a drug like ecstasy, trying to commune together and talk to the aliens or elevate. It was real sweet, optimistic, silly, but very pro-human, very
pro-human.
Yeah, very heart-based. We're going to use the technology to realize a new collective human organism. And I was excited by what they were doing. And then
a human organism. Though.
Yeah, human, grounded, dancing. It's us. It's in sync together. There was something with a large group of people dancing together where you're no longer. It used to be when you went to a dance, you went, maybe today too, you went to find a girl, right? And try to pick somebody up or it was like, and the clubs were very Coke and alcohol oriented. Am I rich enough? Am I hot enough? Who am I going home with? It was very strategic. And the rave was you're just dancing with everybody at once in one big, and you're on E, so you really...
Yeah, that's got to be a nice feeling. Yeah.
You're thinking different about love and society.
Had you ever done that before? Ecstasy? Before you went out and did raves in California?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When I was 10.
Well, it wasn't.
He's like 12, sorry.
Well, no, but we did. We were doing acid at college. Okay. Acid was the easy thing to get at that, the easiest thing of the things. And I did ecstasy a little bit before that. I was more of an acid person.
What about acid? Like, what about it drew it to you?
I feel like it asks nothing of you.
It asks nothing of you.
Of the psychedelics, I mean, there was some even... Acid is just like, this is you. Here you are.
Yeah.
This is it. Almost more like a mirror. You're going to get wherever you're setting something. This is it. It's like mushrooms are like, connect to the earth. The earth planet needs you. We're weeping. We're have compassion. Ecstasy is love. You have to, open your heart. There are these sort of agendas to them. And I always felt that acid was just like,
right in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Here you are.
Interesting.
Here
Never
you
did
are.
acid.
It's an
Never
interesting
did
one.
acid.
It's an
Did
interesting
some
one.
psychedelics, but not
It's
acid.
an interesting one. But anyway, so I'm meeting those people and I'm starting to write articles about what they're doing.
Are you still in college at this point, or is
No,
this right after
I'm done.
you leave?
After college, I went to college. I went to grad school. I went to Cal Arts, California Institute of the Arts in theater. And I went to American Film Institute in film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't like film, though, in the end. I like theater because it's live. Film kept feeling like each stage of the process in film, you're getting further and further away from the life of it.
Interesting.
Editing and compromise and all that. And with a play, it's like every night it's new.
You have to live it. Yeah.
Yeah, every night it's new. And it feels like, I used to say it's like directing a play. It's kind of like like brushing a woman's hair, because you run the whole thing and they say, oh, it's not working right there. So how do we get through, until you get the whole, and then by the end, you can see the whole 2-hour thing.
Yeah.
You've made it work. So it feels natural.
Steve here has written multiple movie scripts and then also a play that's still continuing its run soon at a new theater.
Sacco and Vanzetti are dead. It's a satire of Sacco and Vanzetti.
Yeah, you'd like it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm going to go.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that description of the
I
two?
like that about the women's hair, brushing it like you're getting the knots out so that it's nice and smooth.
Right. You find out where everything connects to everything else. It's like until you're there, and then you go, we're going to have to change this in order for that to work.
Yep.
Whereas with a movie, you can fake it. You can make it all fit, but you've never really... You don't really do it. I mean, it's just a different.
No,
taste.
I think it's a great way to point it out too, and I think that it really depends who's making it. Like if you are, you'll see like Tarantino will do a lot of these long dialogue scenes, right? And you'll read about some of them after. And there's two different ways it happens. Either one is like they have to cut a lot together and they're filming it over 7 days or something like that. And others, maybe they film it over 7 days, but he just does take after take after take and a lot breathes.
Right. Or
that's more
Christopher
like a play.
Guest and those movies he does. Those are the sort of improvised movies. Or what was that thing? It was that really sad, horrible thing on like Netflix where they shot these giant scenes about this kid that kills somebody.
Oh, Adolescence? Yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, and the tour de force, I guess, of that is they did these like 15-minute scenes that
crazy.
They just play them out. And you're like, they really, to work to get the whole thing. It's not just the shot, it's to be there. But anyway, I got sick of theater because of elitism of it and all, and then as the internet was happening, so I went and started writing these stories about virtual reality and there's new hacker clubs and
hacker clubs,
like people getting together and just hacking, making games, sharing things. It was all communal. Everything was free. You made software, but it was called shareware. You'd make software and put it on a disk and go on your bus of your high school and share it with other people. The idea was, how are we all going to communicate? So the early internet was like a rave. Yeah. And you made it free. It was DIY. And we're all just trying to build technologies to promote this sort of new human thing. Yeah. And so as I was exploring that and doing journalism about companies that they were all giving drug test warnings to their employees because they needed psychedelic people they all knew they had psychedelic heads building their stuff because psychedelic people were used to imagining realities. We're used to hallucinating things that didn't exist. There was no internet. You had to imagine, what would hyperspace look like? What is hypertext? How do you navigate these realms? What would an interface look like to let people surf through information? So it was that. So then I became friends with Timothy Leary, who maybe people don't know. He was a 1960s Harvard professor who gave graduate students acid in these parties and got in all this trouble. And he became like the high priest of LSD. Nixon's public enemy number one in 1970.
We've had a few people on talking about that. Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you.
There was another guy called Terence McKenna I was friends with. He was into more, mushrooms and DMT and all. And and there was a big magazine called Mondo 2000.
Mondo 2000?
Yeah, that was around then.
Were they afraid of Y2K? Were they afraid of Y2K over there?
No. It was before people worried about that one. But yeah, so there was a psychedelic culture that was mixed with the internet culture. So I was kind of part of that hope, but they saw me because I'm this New York Ivy League educated journalist dude. They saw me as the cynic. Cynic? Yeah. So I'm writing these articles. Right. I'm writing these articles that my New York people and the magazines I'm writing them for think that I'm this crazy West Coast utopian. And the people who are living it are like, why are you being so mean and negative about everything we're doing? And it's kind of funny because that meant, to me, it meant I was doing the right job, right? I'm just saying, what if?
What if?
What if? And if nothing else, I used to get My first book on the internet, I wrote it in 1991 and it got canceled in 1992 because my publisher thought the internet would be over by 1993.
Isn't that
when it was
funny
supposed to come
how
out.
many people were like, this is the biggest like joke ever?
CB radio, they said. It's like CB in the letter. They said, yeah, it's going to be like CB radio. And we looked and it lasted about 18 months and it's not in the right time scale for a book.
I know hindsight's 2020. I understand it's that way with everything. But that is one I look at and I go, you mean to tell me that a bunch of really smart people were looking at something where people around the world would be able to just plug in a computer and connect to, someone in Montana could hypothetically connect to someone in Paris for the first time ever, and that wasn't going to be used or mass adopted? I don't. What were the big arguments back then where they were saying no way?
Didn't make money. They did a study in 1994. I don't think you can find it. Where they found out that the average internet connected home was watching 9 hours less television a week. And that's when they went, oh, fuck, this sucks. Because the internet had no ads. The internet had no way to make money back then.
They didn't think, let's put ads on there?
They did, but you had to sign an agreement when you went on the internet saying you wouldn't use it for commercial purposes because it was all paid for by the government and universities. It was a research thing.
Yeah.
So
Didn't
you just
DARPA invent it or some shit?
Yeah, I mean, originally, and then they turned it over to the public, but as an educational kind of a thing, not as. And I remember when the first ads went up. I mean, there was a few moments, and that's when I realized, oh, fuck, it's going to go the wrong way. Funny, this guy, Mark Andreessen, he's this big famous guy now, billionaire or whatever. He there was something called Mozilla, one of the first web browsers. And he did a version of Mozilla, which was a public free shareware app. He did a version called Netscape. And he did Netscape as a private company. And they did an IPO and made $1 zillion. The day that Netscape had its IPO was the same day that Jerry Garcia, the guitarist of the Grateful Dead, died. Oh, wow. And I always thought that it's like, oh, this is the moment that we're going to really leave the 60s part of the internet behind and move into this other thing.
That's interesting.
And it was right around then we started to do ads and all that when I started to say, oh, we've got a choice here. We can either go this sort of Wired magazine business direction with the net, but it's going to be a problem because if we do, and this was where I was very prescient. I mean, this is where I deserve my whatever if I get it.
I'm giving it to you.
Thank you. That if we go down that road, instead of giving technology to people to let them realize a wild, new, collective, creative, possible human existence, we're going to be using technology on people to increase their predictability, right? Once you're betting on a technology, you don't want the wildest possibilities to happen. Once you're betting on something, what do you want? The highest probability of your outcome. So we use technology on people to control their behavior.
We become the product.
We became the product.
Holy shit, what a call.
Yeah. And it was, again, I was like, don't do it. And I wrote about it in the end of this book called Coercion, Why We Listen to What They Say. I said, we're taking all the techniques of 20th century advertising, we're about to port it into this new landscape. Only the new landscape is not made of the real world. At least in the real world, you have the real world and advertisements in it. Now we're going to construct a world where the very landscape is fabricated to be an advertisement, to be mind control. And I don't know if human beings will be able to maintain their coherence if they're living in that.
Now, when you say maintain their coherence, what do you mean?
Love each other. In the end.
Yeah. That's kind of where I thought you were
They're going to do everything.
We see it now.
Yeah, because if everything is a 1 or a 0, a yes or a no, a before or an after, an if or a then, we're essentially disconnected. There's no more continuity. It's like, it's at 44,000 hertz, but it's still.
And you can train minds. You can slowly. It's not like it's like boiling a frog. It's not like you suddenly blare someone and light them on fire with gasoline. I mean, they could do that too if someone's that unaware, but like that's not really how it's done. It's one piece and then two pieces and then three pieces and then four and then five. And suddenly, whatever the issue is, you know, the opposite end of that will be something you don't see. And I've tested, like I'm one of these people, I love to test my algorithms over time. So I'll go do like crazy shit on there and be like, okay, I've had a bunch of tweets about people talking about Roe v. Wade, and a lot of the people talking about it are the people who are like against this being overturned or something. Now I'm going to start at this person's page who's really pro-life, scroll through all their tweets, see how it changes my algorithm, like a few tweets on there, see what I see the next day. And you can literally see like the robot shift. And I'm like, oh my God, if I were reading this all day, I would agree with this 100%.
Yeah.
If I were reading this all day, I'd agree. That is not, we have never had anything even remotely close to that in humanity. And it does, you know, it feels like we haven't made, I don't want to be a cynic on it, but it feels like we haven't made any real progress on learning how to deal with that.
Right. I mean, because we never really did. I mean, it's funny. In the old days, media literacy used to be being able to deconstruct the advertisement on TV.
Right.
That's what they taught us about, you know, that the advertiser's not your friend. They want you to buy something. They don't want you to be satisfied. I mean, and that was sort of an easy landscape. I used to say like, you know, who's the best customer for a Blue Jeans commercial, right? Is it because the Blue Jeans commercial basically says all of them one way or another, buy these jeans and you will get laid. Right.
Right.
So who's the ideal customer for that? Is it someone who's sitting on a couch with his girlfriend? No, it's someone who's sitting on the couch alone with the potato chips. You want the person not to be getting laid, otherwise they won't buy the jeans. So the advertisers don't want us getting laid. That means they're not our friends. It's sort of the simplest way to think it.
Like from a groupthink scenario in the sense that it's not what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that it's not like there's one person at the top of a company saying we need to fuck all these people over. It's more like, oh, this type of ad worked. And then that team reports to that team in the company that says this worked because these are the people buying it. And then that team reports to another team who handles that and says, therefore, we're going to do more of this because they're trying to get profitability. And the end result is they're convincing people not to fuck.
Right. Right. Or making them pathetic. But and now there's algorithms doing it using techniques that we don't even know for reasons we don't even know. We don't even care. Right. They're just like,
oh, look, this worked on Doug. Why don't you try it on yours? Oh, it's working on my guy. Oh, try it on her. Oh, if I adapt it like that, it seems to work better on her. Oh, try that too.
And there are millions of them all sharing. Oh, this works. And it's for what? They're going to do whatever we program them to do, right? Get him to buy this thing by whatever means necessary. They don't care what it's doing to our psyche or anything else, which is why, I mean, now it's funny, this week in New York, it's called the Summer of Lud. You heard of this? It's you know what Luddites are? Luddites are people, they're not against technology. Luddites are people who don't want technology to be used
like the Amish.
Well, no, they can be modern. I mean, you can be a Luddite using cell phones and shit. I mean, but they have the same Amish or Amish sensibility that let's only adopt a technology once we understand that it's not hurting us. Right. But the Luddite distinction was technologies that distance us from each other, technologies that make us hate each other and make it more difficult for us to work together are against us. Technologies that bring us together are good. Technologies that are used to hurt people and disempower people are bad. Technologies that empower people are good. So that was the thing. But it's Luddite. It's this week in New York, and it's really interesting to see. There's all these kids who. It's a movement that started like around 5 years ago in high schools. That these kids are they turn in their smartphones for flip phones. They're not using phones at all. They're like hanging out during breaks and like reading, walking in nature. And I saw this girl speak on a panel. It was just yesterday. And she's like, well, the weirdest thing about giving up my smartphone, because she's only got a flip phone now. She was walking in New York a year or so ago, and she got lost. And she said her first feeling on getting lost was, oh no, I'm lost. But then all of a sudden the city changed and the whole city became this labyrinth of possibility that she could go anywhere. And she realized that getting lost was the best feeling she ever had. I used to do that all when I was a kid. I'd get on my bike and go to a neighborhood I don't know. And you know, you try to get lost.
I've always, and it's an easy observation to spot now when you talk to people for a long time. But to me, the generation or the subset of generations born between 1990 and 1998 are the most interesting people to talk to in the current digital age, which I'm in smack in the middle of that, and so is Steve, because we are the last people who, in the context of growing up in some way, knew the world where there wasn't staring at the phone. You went outside and played. You didn't have GPS everywhere. And then I say, like, because the iPhone came out in 07, it started to catch on like real adoption in like 08. So like think about that, 1998, you're 10 years old at that point. You've had 10 years where you're an infant and a kid and a child grown up running and playing. And then after that, it's hard to put into words. It's very hard to explain in words, and I'm definitely not going to do a good job. But when I'm talking to a kid born in 2000, 2001, there's a difference.
Oh, yeah.
There is a real difference on like not even necessarily like worldview, but how they look at the world, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And, you know, we haven't even talked about like COVID and what that did for development and stuff. We can get into that later. But these are the kinds of things, I don't know if we're going to understand the downstream effect of what I'm talking about on society and like what that generation does as it comes of age and continues to get a more powerful place in society. We're not going to know that for 30, 40 years what the effects are.
And given those effects, they might not be in a position to find out.
Yeah. Well, that's the dark view, but
I mean, something else.
Considered.
At the same time, I mean, I'm living in the East Village now, and I feel like it's partly because of it's partly nihilism, but they are out. Gen Z is out on the street every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
They were locked up in high school, you know?
Right. They're out. I mean, and not that it's necessarily good. They are drinking. They're smoking.
They're fucking, I hope. Yeah.
I hope they're all the stats say they're not fucking, but they look to me like they're fucking.
Good.
And the guys, there's this like Gen Z guy type now, which is sort of like a 1970s porn look. I don't know if you've seen this. They got like a mustache and a mullet and the buttoned-down shirt and the chains and stuff. And I'm like, whatever that is, good. They're doing. They're just like, there's like effort. You know, I was always depressed when I would see like kids out in the village on a Saturday night, and the girl is like dressed to the T, and the guy's just like jeans and t-shirt. And it's like, but now there's just like guys are trying, you know what I mean? There's like a thing. It just feels like, you know, it's like when you see those 70s movies and the guys have those shirts with the things. And it's like, we used to laugh at it because I was in high school in the 70s, but I kind of admire it now, you know, just that attention that I want to look good. I want to feel sexy. You know?
It's good to see that like, again, a generation that was like locked up during really formative years is interested in going out and experiencing the world. And I don't think sociologically we have ever seen a generation like Gen Z. They got a little bit of everything there. You know what I mean? They got I'm talking on the spectrums of like, you can go from like people that are furries to people that like Nick Fuentes and everything in between. It's really, really strange in that generation.
Right. But they're interesting. They're interesting. And I am seeing like, so I'm thinking when this, Summer of Lud that they're doing in Tompkins Square Park, I mean, I'm looking around. I mean, I had,
can we pull this up, Steve?
Summer of Lud, LUDD.
Yeah.
God knows how much they're going to be online with it, right? Because it's the summer.
Well, someone's taking a video.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they, some students of mine did a, this is the kind of thing they're doing. They did a curse on Palantir.
Love that.
Right? And they have a zine
They have a zine.
A zine. They made a little zine that they're handing out.
They're doing like spells and shit?
Yeah, which is a spell, a collective spell to like curse Palantir. It's really funny.
Yeah, look at this. That even looks like very late 60s Woodstocky, you know?
The Luddite
I can like
guidebook.
feel a Jimi Hendrix guitar in the background. It's the Summer of Lud in New York City. This is from Dr. Philip Fisher. With one new special protest, Lud, from June 28th through July 5th, Tompkins Square Park hosts lectures and demonstrations, free lunch included, spanning everything from a Luddite history lesson to the perils of Luddite Riz and dating apps. I take up the Luddite revival in my forthcoming book. I expect it to become as consequential a social movement this century as it was in the 1800s, and a warning of the economic turmoil set to unfold over the next few years. You can already hear it in the booing by college graduates across the country loud and clear.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, when
which
people
we've
are
seen.
doing their graduation speeches, the tech bros or the college presidents, whenever they mention AI, everybody boos. Now that is just it's really, that's the same thing as Club of Rome. Just Club of Rome is like student government doing it. It's like the boring ex-governmenty. Oh, I think the way to solve this is we're gonna publish a white paper that shows the thing. And I'm like, but that's part of why they have me, because they know it's like white papers. Oh, it's very sweet, but nobody's going to read your white paper. And if they do read your white paper, they're just going to stick it in Claude. You know, and then not read it anyway.
That's right.
But this, like Summer of Lud, but the thing, the beauty of a $10,000 a year budgeted Club of Rome that's trying to figure out what's going on is that the smart kids who are at something like that, when they're doing their speeches and their lectures and their working groups and all, they're informed by that stuff.
Right.
So they can say, here's why we don't want an AI company deciding how the land is used in our town.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing because they're being given authority over the water. And it's like, and I get it. I under why someone would want that. Because if you're being paid by an AI company, if that's where your stock is, then you want that AI company to do well, even if some kids of a different race in some southern town are going to suffer. It's like, it's their problem. They're not rich.
You don't have to see it.
Especially. It's over there.
It's over there. I don't got to look at it. I just look at my stock.
But it's interesting. We used to only do this stuff to people on reservations, you know?
Yeah, at least we gave them casinos, though, you know?
We'll give
These people are just getting fucked and no water.
Right.
So,
no water, no casino.
And Doug, it's we can go to that now because it's obviously a soup du jour. Not casinos, but the data centers thing and stuff like that you're talking about, because it's a soup du jour topic right now because you see so many of them popping up out of nowhere. And like, two things. I understand anytime any new technology has ever come out, human race has always had a subset of people that are very, very afraid of it and doomer it, and then, you know, we turn out okay. It doesn't mean that every single time it's going to turn out fucking okay. And also this time with AI, this is the first time we're building technology that may be able to think for itself and outthink us, which is certainly new territory. So it is a new normal in that way, or in normal if you want to say. The second thing is, I understand that you want, like, even looking at it from an American-centric standpoint, you want to be at the front of the race and at the forefront of the world and be able to win and have the best tech. I get that. And in theory, I'm cool with, like, if someone's going to do really well with it, if we can do the best, great. But to me, when you do that at the expense of thinking about all your people at a time where the wealth gap is at unbelievable, unprecedented levels. Every chart can back that on that. And when you do it with companies that have proven time and time again to not care about fellow humanity, whether it be everything from Google to Palantir or whatever, who's going to be the tenants at these places. Yeah, I think everyone out there, including myself, who's like, hey, let's slow down with this and let the people have a say in this matter, certainly has a good argument. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It was Sam Altman that went to government and said, we're in a race with China. You know, and that was why we got to deregulate this stuff, because we're in a race with China. But the thing I would have said to him is, you know, since when has being first necessarily been the best? America, we were the first at having social media. Look how good that did for us. You know, China was second in social media, but they went, look, we're going to do this another way. I mean, in Chinese TikTok, as you know, is like
Oh, the kids get educated.
Yeah.
It's like the one good benefit of communism. They're like, we can turn this off at 9:00 and you watch math videos instead of titties.
Right. And what's it optimized for? Yeah. It's optimized for that. And to say that it's totalitarian to not have kids watching God knows what at night, Kardashians at night, is not totalitarianism. That's raising children. So there's the first mover advantage I kind of question. The interesting thing is, you're right that when we say, oh, we got writing now, and the ancient Greeks, when they got writing, Aristotle was going, oh no, people are going to lose their memories. Right? They were talking about their worry about what will the impact be of the technology. And some people say we're going to get books and be smart, and other people said, no, we're going to lose our memory, and maybe both happen. With AI, you're right, you've got your doomers and your utopians. Your utopians saying, oh, because of AI, we're going to beat China, we're going to be able to upload our brain to the cloud so that when the planet goes, we'll have artificial beings, they're going to have robot sex slaves, it's going to all be beautiful. And you have other people saying, oh no, when AI comes, we're all going to be programmed into oblivion, we're going to do that. I don't care about, well, this sounds radical, and maybe I don't care about what's going to happen. Because the ends don't justify the means. I care about what are we doing right now.
Okay.
If you're taking water away from a black child in Alabama in order to feed your data server, it's not right. If you're sending a kid in the Congo into a mine at gunpoint to get the cobalt to make the thing, then the soul of the thing is corrupted from the outset.
Yeah.
So
the soul of the thing.
Yeah, if you can, I know it sounds religious or something, cool. But I believe if you, and this, this is where the academics actually help, right? My professor thing, I'm a professor at CUNY. All right, there was this guy, Albert Camus.
Camus?
Right, he was but he wrote in French. You see, the theater guy. The theater guy knows. Theater people rule. That's a virtual. Yeah, all right. We do. Theater people are smart. When you can't do theater without learning the history of everything. It's like so funny. Well, at least directors and writers. You have to read everything. But this guy Camus, so he was friends with the French existentialists, like friends with Sartre and all the Marxists and all that. And they were all happy about communism. Oh, it's great, yay. And then the communists started to make gulags and prison camps and all that. And guys like Sartre and the intellectual left, they said, look, this is part of revolution, that in order to get to the communist utopia,
a little pain on the way.
There's going to be
30 million got to die.
Stuff that happens, right? Yeah. And it's part of the process because we got so off course. And Camus said, dude, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. He's like, if you're not doing this in the moment, you're not doing it. Nothing, no amount of supposed good on the other side is worth doing the thing in the moment. So even if you tell me, like as an effective altruist, they're the new ones who have this belief, the tech bros, that, oh, you have to let this one baby die so these tens of millions of babies live in the future because they're going to have AI. That? No. Yep. You will. The only morality you can have is in the moment itself, in the encounter with the other people in that moment. And part of faith, and this is, Christian or anything, part of faith is believing that doing the right thing in this moment will fractal trickle out to the everything. So no, AI, I think AI is cool. It's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. Yeah. But the idea that we've got to sacrifice the environment, or if you don't believe in the environment, children, if you don't believe in the children, water, or if you don't believe in water, a town's authority over its own land, there's something, there's a way to deploy this.
Deploy it.
Yeah, well, it's military. Military love that. There's a way to deploy.
Yeah. That sends
we can
shivers up the
decamp and deploy in ways that don't necessarily hurt people.
All right, so you taught this effective altruism thing, though.
Yeah.
Is a really interesting argument for sure. And yeah, I think a lot of the guys who have argued that are cringe and
Right.
a lot of times happen to also be sociopaths. We can talk about Sam Altman in a little bit, but like, you seen the show The Last of Us? You ever watched that?
Yeah, I didn't like that they made the mushrooms the bad guys, but other than that, it's very cool.
Other than that,
Yeah.
but spoiler alert out there, so skip the next 30 seconds if you haven't seen it. But there's one point in the show where Pedro Pascal has to make a decision where the girl Ellie in the show may have a cure, but for this disease that's ravaged humanity and rendered most of the population dead and continues to do so and has been going on for a lot of years in the show. And she may have the cure because she's actually immune, but in order to find that out, they have to kill her to make, some sort of, something that can be passed on to other humans to make them immune and maybe end it. And Pedro Pascal says, fuck that, and then kills all 40 people in the hospital and rescues Ellie and takes her home. Did he make the right decision doing that?
Yeah. Especially because it's fiction, right?
All right. If it was true, did he make the right decision?
Well, if it was true, there is no if it was true. In the end,
that feels like a cop out.
No, there actually is not, because again, does reality, you can set something up like a prisoner's dilemma situation. Say, okay, you're in a prison and here's the game and this is that. It's a setup. So I guess if you say a setup, okay, there's a trolley, and the trolley, do you run over the one person in order to save the people in the trolley? Do you send the trolley off the cliff and whatever? Those are hard moments, right?
Hard.
And what you're going to do in those moments is probably follow what your heart is telling you to do rather than logic. And
which do you think is the right answer, or both?
The heart. I'm doing what the heart's saying. In that moment, we know Pedro Pascal has what Buber would call an I-thou relationship with that girl.
Yeah.
He sees her as a human being, right? And these other people in that hospital have dehumanized her, right? And he sees them as dehumanized agents of, and you could say, oh my God, you're going to kill 40 people to save one? And it's like, it's my person. I mean, Now I'm personally, I'm more of a pacifist. I would probably,
he would have talked him down to death.
I would have been a little bit more, I don't know. I would try to talk them down, but God forgive you for what you're doing. Yeah. And you have to understand that it's not actually going to work because of what you're doing. This is not, in the long term, this is not the solution to the real problem.
No, I'm not saying that you'd be as good with a gun as Pedro Pascal was in there. Certainly had some great aim, hitting everyone and mowing them down. But
I took a gun lesson once, and the guy told me at the end.
He said you were good?
He said, you're a regular John Wick.
That's fucking great. Okay, so let's say you are as
half
good
an
with
hour.
a gun. But yeah, his name was Anthony Lambert. But if you, let's say
with
you were good with it, all right, you have your 22, you got ultimate reloads and everything.
And I'm right up next to him, right?
But you're trying to piece him to death across that hospital, and the first security guard, who might be a Russian guy or something, says,
kill me.
Go fuck yourself. He'll kill you.
Yeah.
In that moment, though, this is one of those things where it's like, if you truly are someone who's like, I see that girl as a human being, you don't think you'd be like, well, fuck it, this piece ain't working?
I don't know.
I don't know.
See.
That's a good answer.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like someone was going to attack my daughter or something. I feel like I've got the instinct to shoot somebody in the head or do whatever. Yeah. I mean, in the end, I'm an animal. I got teeth. I got nails.
That's right.
I got throwing stars and nunchucks.
That's right. And you got nunchucks too.
Yeah. I mean, I got the rubber
Norris
ones because I kept hitting myself in the back of the head with the wood ones. I could not be trusted. They're hard. You're truly ready to try to really Bruce Lee with those things?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'd stick with the gun.
I got him. I got him in high school. I still have him somewhere.
Okay. All right. Let's not take those
Yeah.
out. I believe you with the 22. I feel
Really?
like
You got to be, apparently the guy said you got to be really up close with a 22.
Yeah.
It doesn't have stopping power is what they say.
No stopping power on that. We're going to have the gun people in the comments weigh in there. But, when you're talking about these people who are talking about these things and like the Sam Altmans and stuff, I get really concerned when you hear, what's his name? Mo Gaudat, I think, Deef, who used to be a really high up guy at Google. I think he was on Diary of a CEO's podcast, I want to say recently. Yeah, okay. Where he mentioned he's got this documentary coming out, and I saw this clip on Twitter from that podcast where he was saying that Sam Altman's quoted in the documentary, I guess saying with like a straight face going, yeah, AI is probably going to end humanity, but we're going to have a lot of fun making cool shit on the way.
Yeah, he did say that. He thinks
It's like,
it's
what the
only
fuck?
like 80% chance, according to him, I think, that it ends us.
But like, what do you see why people out there look at this and go, who the fuck are you, pal? Like,
Right.
you're the guy holding your finger on the trigger of this thing, and that's how you look at it? Like, no one elected you to
Right.
do that.
Yeah, well, the way he would put it is, well, humanity was going to end anyway, sooner or later.
Okay, what gives him that idea? Sooner or later.
Well,
when is that?
Well, because the sun burns out or whatever.
Yeah, and maybe like a million years
And maybe
or
we
something.
got off the planet by then.
And maybe we
Yeah.
get off the planet by then. So
And
who
I think
died
the
and
one-
elected him?
And if I was gonna bet on anyone getting off the planet kind of thing, I would think it's like the Kogi, they're the ones who do ayahuasca in Colombia, or
Okay.
the Buddhists or something, that will get there through like Monroe Institute astral projection, out of body. That I just think, I think the way I would think an interdimensional travel feels to me more probable than making spaceships that let us go through the universe and not get irradiated and destroy every sperm in our body.
Let's play it this way then.
Yeah.
Let's not think in the lifespan of, say, like an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos
Yeah.
who's trying to do this stuff. And let's say, we're not the immortal
10,000
generation.
years.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's things that could happen in 10,000 years. There's ways off, but I think the ways off are not going to involve like solid rocket fuel and metal
In 10,000
canisters.
years, it won't. It'll be something way beyond that. But you don't think it would be the ability for us to literally physically go off? I feel like we'd have that at 10,000 years.
But I think it'll be more like quantum folding space.
Quantum folding.
You know what I
all
mean?
right.
Like it'll be some weird ass.
I could tell you were friends with Terence McKenna.
Weird. Like the Google figured out. Google was like experimenting with the very beginnings of proto quantum type computers, and one of its proto quantum computers solved this math equation that was supposed to take like 100,000 years to solve, and they were trying to figure out how did it do this?
Right.
And the only way they can understand it is that the computer got the answer from an adjacent reality. Right, got from an adjacent reality where the problem had been solved.
Can we Google this?
Yeah.
An adjacent reality?
Right, so it's like that's if you want to travel first class, it feels like it's gonna be shit like that that we don't quite understand yet. Closer to stuff that we're playing with, remote viewing and ESP and what are aliens and what's going on and why are those things moving around, sort of like 3D to 4D. Once you if you lived in flat space, you wouldn't understand what's going on the other side of the page, on the other side of the plane.
Sure.
How did you get there? How did you pop up there? It's like, oh, well, you don't get it. We're in 3D. We actually are in 3D.
You're thinking like Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, more of that kind of stuff. And some of the stuff we've done is as magical as that. And usually the people who figure those kinds of things out get like the Teslas, and who was that guy that was like balancing rocks and stuff using, this guy did these giant experiments.
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
No, this guy balanced rocks and things and he understood how the pyramids were made and it was all about, reversing the magnetism and gravity, and they could never, and when his things fell, they couldn't get them back up. They didn't know how to do it, even with cranes and all that shit. There's just, I feel like the
I'll see. Deep's looking for that right now. Deep did pull up what you were talking about, though, a second ago, Douglas, just so people can
Google's
get context.
quantum AI team, right.
Yeah, Google's quantum computer experiments have sparked intense discussions about parallel realities in the multiverse. While the computers are simply running highly complex math algorithms, the unprecedented speeds have led some physicists to theorize that the computational workloads are being distributed across alternate realities or dimensions.
Yeah.
So the Willow chip and the multiverse, I love the fucking multiverse shit. And the multiverse hypothesis. The breakthrough. Google's quantum AI team introduced Willow, a 105-qubit processor capable of completing a random circuit sampling benchmarking task in just 5 minutes. Traditional supercomputers would theoretically take 10 septillion years to complete the same task. The adjacent reality theory. Because the computations explore such a massive number of quantum states so quickly, Hermit Naveen, former head of Google's quantum AI team, and other theorists have suggested this performance aligns the multiverse interpretation of quantum mechanics. The idea proposes the quantum computations actually unfold across parallel realities, meaning the computer is tapping into multiple versions of reality to find a solution. So, Douglas, this actually...
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, but this reminds me of something. So, an old friend of mine, this guy, Marcelo Cabrera, remind me to check, just make sure he's cool with me saying his name, Deef, but I remember, I want to say it was early January 2018. I'm going for a walk with him in Central Park, like midday. It was snowy out. I'm wearing, I worked on Wall Street at the time where I was making about $65K a year, and I had to wear a Joseph A. Banks suit and pretend it was something better. So I'm like wearing these shitty shoes that are getting wet. I'm freezing. But Marcelo's the kind of guy that, if I could describe him in a cartoon way, he's the kind of guy that maybe sometimes would get a call from someone that says, be at this bench at, 12:05 tomorrow. And when he's there, they pick him up, they put a bag over his head, drive him 6 hours away. He solves some fucking computational thing somewhere. They hand him a bag of money. They put the bag back on his head, drive him back to the bench. And that's that. Really fucking sharp guy. And so we were talking about the whole blockchain revolution at the time because people were just tossing blockchain as a keyword on everything. This is right when the crypto market was like starting to crash. Right. After the first big boom there in 2017. And he was like, this blockchain stuff, it's interesting. But if you get to the quantum goes way beyond it. And he was explaining, I don't remember 6, 8, 48, whatever it was, but he was blowing my mind explaining how we could be in a reality where a country has already had quantum and has already effectively hacked all this stuff and therefore hacked reality, and we're not even living in the space that we think we're living in anymore because something is actually controlling the world, and it might not even be a country. It could be like some unelected fucking government. And I just remember sitting there going, wow, we've lost him. Like, he's crazy. And then I saw some of the stuff play out, and I'm like, maybe he's not crazy.
Right. I mean, it's a matter of figuring out what it is. So there's this guy, Nick Land, who's like a real darling of the far right guys, like Peter Thiel and Musk and all that. I love Nick Land. He's this theorist, and he says that capitalism itself is a strange attractor from the future drawing us toward it. That capitalism is like this living thing, and that it's inevitable that we're going to go into there, and that's why they're promoting these kind of racist, hierarchical things, because it's like they want to be the ultimate capitalists.
You think it's racist what they're proposing?
Yeah, well, it's the kind of survival of the fittest eugenic thing. In the end, it's. You think
that's their intention, or you think it's more
just
like
part of it?
You think it's just a downstream part of it?
Yeah, part of being supreme.
Doesn't that assume then that if we assume that that's a part of, and trust me, I'm no fan of Peter Thiel and guys who think in any eugenics, but if we're assuming that what they're doing is racist, we're therefore assuming that therefore there are races that are less superior to other races? Like, I don't buy into that at all. But
in their model.
But have they ever said that?
Yeah, in so many words. In so many words. I mean, and it's partly, I mean, if you're raised under apartheid in South Africa, and when you're a kid, your parents, lock the downstairs and put a cage on the steps before you go up to the bedrooms at night to keep out black people, who you're actually afraid are going to come and storm. When you got a helicopter in the courtyard of the house to escape when you lose control of this place, I think you do get indoctrinated in certain things. It's tricky.
Right.
Can I pee?
Are
we allowed to stop?
We'll be right back.
You can just keep running it.
No, we're good.
All right.
We're good. Take your time. All right, we're back now. So you're trying to get more muscles, you're saying? I see the veins popping right there. They're doing pretty well.
I'm trying. No, my doctor said he wants me to get to 140.
Once you get to 140, what are you right now?
I'm up to 136 on a good day.
136. Okay.
136.
It's easy to add on muscle when you get into the flow of things. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
like lifting?
No, what I'm liking is and I think I can develop a whole thing. I'm sure someone has. I'm liking like pull-ups and
Pull-ups are
dips and push-ups.
Fuck yeah.
And then push-ups with weights. There's something about I don't like the clunk. There's something about the clunk that's just like, but if I can find ways to, and I'm liking these, I got these giant rubber bands. I'm kind of liking that feel better than others. And and I've got really this guy, he actually lives out here, was showing me, like, if you do them really slow.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's brutal, but it's like,
They're great.
And I feel like way less, I'm over 60. I don't want to like rip a ligament or do whatever.
Right.
And doing like less weight or these kind of these stretchy things or even functional weights like kettlebells and things.
I was just going to ask, so you do some kettlebells. They're amazing.
That's what I got instead of the little dumbbells.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, Deef got me back into kettlebells last year. I used to do a lot when I was younger and then got away from it. But like, oh my God. That's how it's meant to be because it is it's a combination of a lot of things depending on how you do your workout. Like if you're working in sets, then it can be a little closer to dumbbells and stuff like that. But it's like functional training, athleticism, high intensity training, and also like strength training and weight training at the same time. It's unbelievable how much better and more athletic you feel. Like it's helped me on the heavy bag a ton. Like
I mean, punching a bag.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I love boxing, but like my movement on the bag since going back to kettlebells has improved dramatically, I'd say. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So definitely keep hitting that.
No, I do that. And I do yoga. And I do a lot of yoga.
You do a lot of yoga. Yoga's amazing for you.
Well, it's also for core, you know.
Absolutely. Huge difference between abs and core. You got to have you got to have a strong core to be able to do anything really athletic for sure.
Yeah, and it's another duh. Like when you find your core, you're like, oh.
There it is.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And then it's like your core's everywhere. Yeah. When you're lifting something with your hand, it's like your core's there.
Yeah.
So,
but back to what we were saying, but before the break, so you were talking about alternate universe. So these other guys you're saying, like the Thiels of the world, there's
not that many of them, but
there's not that many, and I think that's the problem. George Carlin, I always say that he had this famous line: "It's a big club and you ain't in it." Amazing observation, but like I always say, it's a small club and you ain't in it. Like it's a very, very tight club, and so these guys who are looking at it like they can transcend. I want to come back to that in a minute, but like you're saying it's at the expense of everyone else and they just don't care. So you were raising the point, and this is interesting because I was having a conversation with my friend Ty Martin about this the other day. It's very hard to think about, but like that ultra capitalism view, right? Where someone can be a trillionaire and stuff like that, and then just, let everything lie where it is, including like that means people die off because it's too much winner take all. Fuck it. That's how it's supposed to be. I disagree with that. I don't think it should be like that. While I look at all economic systems and I objectively say, like, yes, capitalism has been the best system proven over time over the other ones, I always say it doesn't mean it's perfect. That also doesn't mean you throw the whole thing out. So I was talking with Ty about like, I don't really see a good need for someone to be a trillionaire. But at the same time, to require someone to not be a trillionaire would require a governing body to come in and determine that when you get to a certain level of wealth, you're not allowed to have more, which means they could then use the slippery slope and set that objectively
you mean, right,
anywhere
like
they want.
Like in the Reagan era. Right.
Well, how so in the Reagan era?
In the Reagan era, anything you made over like $1 million was taxed like 80%. Or 90%.
Oh, yeah. And Eisenhower was like 90 or something.
Yeah, and Reagan, we look back at as if he was, some horrible conservative. And it's like, no, the tax policy then, they prevented that. They really said once you had over a few million dollars, why did you need more? And they looked at it's not beneficial to the country, to the nation, for one person to take that much of its currency and store it away. So taking $1 trillion of value and taking it off the table, it doesn't make for a good poker game.
Yeah, and there's something about these guys, and I've never known any of those dudes personally. Not sure I really want to, but like there's some crossing point that happens someday, or maybe it happens slowly like a boiling frog, where they separate themselves
Well,
from
they
the
lose,
average person.
And I wrote about those. There's studies. I mean, when you have $1 billion, you have less empathy for other people.
You wrote about that.
Yeah. There's studies. I quoted them in the last book that once you have that kind of money, it's either because of what you had to do along the way, or and some people theorize it's because you need a kind of sociopathic type personality to get there to begin with. Now, the thing about capitalism that I would say is, who says we should only have one economic system for all places at all times? It's like, I could say marriage is good. Marriage is cool, but is it the best thing for 11-year-olds is it 14-year-olds, 70-year-olds? It's like, does everyone have to get married? Is that the only system of romance that we have? No, there's others. So like capitalism is really good if you're trying to grow an economy. It's not really great if you're an economy that's kind of fully grown and is worried about how are we going to manage remaining resources. That's when you might want a commons. And we've had different kinds of economy. Late medieval Europe had a commons. You can use a commons to organize fisheries or a pasture that a lot of different cows are going to use. There's all these different other kinds of things, other kinds of money systems that you can use. Sometimes you want expensive money that's loaned out by a central bank at interest. So all the money we use, we got to pay back to the banker more than we borrowed. So our economy has to grow just to keep the bank in business.
Sure.
That's fine for the Goldman Sachs economy, but are there any others, and could they coexist? Could we have an economy of our little town, how it works? Like we're going to share one lawnmower on our block?
Yes, exactly. Great point.
So there are a bunch of different things. So it's like capitalism's great among other things.
Yeah. So there's a deeper conversation there, and I'm not trying to get off it. I'm trying to relate it to something else too. So I'm not copping out from that. But I remember he said it way more eloquently than I can remember it. But like Sebastian Junger, when he wrote the book Tribe, really explored like how humanity began in a way, in the sense that we existed in these mathematically smaller groups to where
Dunbar
systems,
groups or whatever.
I think so. Where basically, and I'm not even sure he intended to do this, but he showed that elements of libertarianism and socialism can work below a certain number. And so now you look at it, like think of America, we got 340 million people here. Then think of a smaller country, it's got 1 million people or something like that. That's not how tribes worked back in the day. There were 100 people, 200 people. Everyone knew each other. They knew what it was. So the idea that some government in some capital in some city of said country, whether it's 1 million people or 340 million people, that's not how humans were evolved technically to be, which I'm not saying we shouldn't be now. But what I am saying is we have to understand collectively that that's not our natural state. So however we're going to coexist together and create opportunities for people needs to be like actually, I don't know if the term is like studied or whatever, but you can't just assume we'll figure it out.
Right. Exactly. That's where this idea of something called anarcho-syndicalism.
Anarcho-syndicalism.
Right. It's like anarchism, but syndicated. So the idea is you have these small communities like kibbutzes and towns that do stuff together. And most human beings really only focus on the few hundred people that are in their thing, but all these little things are networked with each other. And there are some people that help them communicate, but it's like, we're really good. Oh, we make shoes in our community. That's what we do and whatever. And that one over there, they make beds. And that one over there, they do farming. And we all trade with each other. So you have a community of people. I mean, something I started saying to people when they're talking about alienation and all these big problems. And I'll say, what if you start with do you know the first name of the 20 people who are closest to you when you're sleeping at night? The people who are physically, like when you're sleeping in this apartment.
I know 10.
You know 10 of them, right? So 10, because that's your people. Who's closest to your body when you're sleeping at night? That's
interesting.
They're the people who are protecting you, right? But they're and it's like, wow. And I thought about that, and it's like in my building, I know like 5 or 6 of the ones, but those are, then we're all sleeping together at night, and I don't even know who they are right through those walls. And it's like, that's your tribe, you know, whether you realize it or not. They're in proximity. And maybe not your only tribe, but that's kind of where it starts organismically. If you believe that there's like electromagnetic fields and our hearts and, you know, that you're breathing and co-metabolizing with other people, they're your first unit of
but we have a
community.
warped thought of this though now, Douglas, because
We
like
do.
right when we were on that break right there, I was texting someone in Hawaii,
Yeah.
right? Like she's
That's
nowhere
beautiful.
near here.
But that's what we ravers
But like
were into.
that's who you're talking with.
Yeah,
You
but
know
that
what I
was
mean?
the whole rave thing. It's like, oh my God, we're creating
Yeah.
a new neural network of human beings across the planet. We're going to be Gaia's brain. And,
Gaia's brain. Jesus Christ.
Remember the Gaia hypothesis? It was this, again, around Club of Rome, 1970s, 80s. A guy, James
Clubs of Rome
James
people.
Lovelock.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they just invited me. I only learned about them, you know.
Oh, you
after I
didn't
got
know about
invited.
them.
I mean, I knew that they existed, but I just knew the initial report.
I don't like that the Club of Rome isn't in Rome. I'm very sketched out by that part.
Yeah, I wonder, what does Rome have to do with them anyway?
Well, they started in Rome,
They did.
which is the greatest city on earth.
Oh, because they did like
Yeah.
a meeting or something in Rome.
I guess they did a meeting in Rome, and now they're in fucking Switzerland with Klaus Schwab. And I'm like,
No, are they? I don't think
you're
so.
supposed to know this.
I don't think it is. Klaus Schwab is the guy who wants to. That's
Well, he's in
dark
Switzerland,
fucking
too.
shit.
Yeah.
No. Klaus Schwab is World Bank and that kind of stuff, or World Economic Forum. No, that's dark.
Okay. All right.
That's a very different thing.
all right, good.
Club of Rome are like environmentalists. This guy is like AOC on
I'm fucking with
cocaine.
you. I'm having fun.
That
with
guy,
you.
it's a different thing.
Yeah, but like, you
I
know,
think. I mean, if I found out Club of Rome was evil, I'd want to know.
You're gonna shine the light on
Yeah,
the
but
darkness.
I'll shine the light. I will shine the light.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
No, but they're not. No, they're like little policy wonks, sweet,
Yeah.
like educators, really thinking, how do we promote? But it's interesting, and I get it, that people who are concerned about the well-being of the planet and its people are the enemies of those who want us to disregard the planet and its people.
Now, here's the dark argument here. And I could see this being a scenario where people are in it and don't even know it, by the way. Unless it's two sides playing against the middle while acting like they're playing against each other. Because there's forces at work that use groupthink as a weapon to where they could be like, ooh, Doug Rushkoff. He's done research on this, this, and that. He's a great guy. He'll never fucking know this because he just wants to do his research. We'll invite him to do this. So he'll come over here and say this. And then this other group over here is like guy X thinks the opposite of Doug Rushkoff. He believes in actually all the bullshit. He said, we'll pull him in here. They'll fucking fight about it, write a bunch of papers and everything. And then everyone will fight about it in the streets while we all do the real shit out here and take over the world. I wonder about that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm a bad target for that. Because I'm just like think and ask questions and explore. So I'm not like, I take it as a positive sign that side, if you want to call it that, is into my message of like heart and humans and all. But interestingly enough, Steve Bannon was asking me to be on War Room a bunch of times, right?
He don't like me too much, I don't think.
He doesn't?
What was he asking you about War Room?
He wanted me to be on War Room to talk about my book, Team Human, that I'm arguing that, human, it was sort of against the technocracy, but he's against that too. He doesn't like those guys.
Yeah.
He's like for
that's
true
what he
MAGA against, he didn't like Doge and those things. Cause again, it was the AI billionaires running things. He was, the populist.
He's a guy I'm very sketched out by.
Oh, he's
I don't
scary.
believe anything he says.
And that's why I didn't want to go on it in the end. Cause I think, not just that he's probably smarter than me on some level.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate.
You know what I mean? That I felt like I probably would end up getting just used.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good thought, man, because he has been everywhere all at once for the last 4.5 decades. And 1 place, 2 place, 3 place, 4, 5 places, 6 places, 7 places, 8 industries, 9. at some point that's not a coincidence. And I can't sit here and say for sure this thing or that thing, but like my friend Henry Abbott, you know, he did some amazing research on this years ago and got no credit for it at the time, but like he was tracing out a lot of Bannon's life and like the people he interacted with and the banks and the finance and this and that. And he's like, this is a spy kind of
No, he's an interesting guy. I mean, talk about, you know, the Club of Rome type. He was a CEO of the Biosphere Project. The Biosphere, which was this, they made this sort of fake greenhouse Earth. It was the most weird-ass environmental experiment thing. So he's doing that. He was like, he owns like Seinfeld or something.
Well, so what he did is he came in and he did a financing round on Seinfeld. So now, since then, like back when he did it in like fucking 1991 or something, whatever it was, we could check it. He's paid a royalty on every episode.
Right.
It's fucking insane.
Right. I mean, so he's interesting cat.
Yeah, but you're right. Steve Bannon served as the CEO of Biosphere 2 in 1993 and 94. Brought in by billionaire Ed Bass to cut costs and restructure the failing ecological project in Oracle, Arizona. His tumultuous 17-month tenure involved sweeping management changes, aggressive lawsuits, and significant alterations to the scientific mission. Bannon was hired as an investment banker and consultant to manage the facility's floundering finances. He quickly ousted the original management of the project's founder, John Allen. Fearing Bannon's management would jeopardize the crew's safety, 2 former Biosphereans broke into the facility in April 1994 to expose the situation and terminate
Let me tell you
experiment.
this. We wanted to throw coincidence.
Yeah.
In April 1994, I was at Timothy Leary's house when the two people who broke into it came to Timothy Leary's house and talked to Timothy about this act. And they did it also because they thought the people in the biosphere were going to run out of oxygen. And they went and they broke the actual glass of the biosphere to let oxygen in and undermine the experiment. Because the whole idea was the biosphere was a closed environment. That could we have plants and people live together and make oxygen, like it's almost like an experimental Mars dome or something. They just couldn't do it. People, the people were just dying in there, and so they went and broke the thing. But I was at Timothy Leary's house the night that they came. And then they were at his house in L.A. and then drove to the biosphere and did that like the next day.
Were you doing psychedelics or something at the time, or just chilling? And they just walked in.
Well, it wasn't on psychedelics. It's not like you go to Timothy Leary's house. It's not like everybody's just.
Well, I didn't, when in Rome.
Millbrook. Yeah, when in Rome.
Yeah,
there you go. Back to Rome. Back to Rome. No, we were not.
Okay. All right. So you remember this very clearly.
Yeah.
They came over.
Yeah, but that's so funny. April 94.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you look at a career like his, and that's another guy where I go both sides against the middle. I remember there was an article that for the life of me I cannot fucking find. I swear to God, it's been pulled off the internet. But back when Bannon was named the chairman of the campaign for Trump in summer 2016, when they fired Paul Manafort. So this is like maybe early August 2016. There was an article on him, and I can't remember if it came out right then or if they reprinted it from like a year before. And I want to say like the photographic memory saying it was in something like Bloomberg Business Week, but I'm not sure. And basically the author of the article was given full access to Steve Bannon to just shadow him for like a couple days or whatever in Washington, D.C., where he's got the townhouse where I guess now he does all these years later, the war room and stuff. At the time, he's the head of Breitbart. And so Bannon has this big party with all these, D.C. acolytes and everything. The author's walking around with him, and Bannon's giving him a tour of his place. And they go to some, I don't know, like the fireplace or something, and they're looking at some pictures. I don't remember what they're looking at. But the guy turns to Bannon and he goes, "What do you believe? Like what do you, who is an amazing question. Like what is your political philosophy?" And he goes, "I'm a Leninist." And the author's like, wait. Like Lenin, like the Bolshevik? Yeah. You're a conservative influence. Like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. He goes, no. Not the actual solutions of the policy as like a Bolshevik, but I'm a Leninist in the sense that he burned it down.
Right.
I want to burn it all down. And that's all he said. And the author was just like, well, that seems, and to me, I remember clocking that going, that's interesting.
Now you get it.
Yeah.
So that's why he would want January 6th. That's why he'd be in the war room for that. Because it's just tear it down. And what would be if you're not left or right, if you just tear it down, who's more likely to do more tearing it down? Biden, Kamala, or Trump? Of course, Trump. There's more, it's more incendiary.
I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why.
How?
I think it's both. I make no distinction. Biden-Harris is a passive destruction. Donald Trump has more aggressive destruction, meaning like he'll tell you that he wants to do this and rip it down, whereas Biden and Harris will tell you there's no such thing as a gender in some fucking memo that they put out.
Right.
And I think both.
But they're not they're Biden and Harris are institutionalists, though. They're trying to prop up the system,
right? And they're propping up systems that
destroy
broken.
things,
of course.
But the if you're going to tear it down, you're not going to go to the people who are building. Biden and Harris are more like.
But you don't think institutions have torn down society in many ways?
They're
by
horrible,
getting
like
out of
World
control?
Bank and all those things. Yeah, it's World Bank was colonialism by another tool. It's like, okay, instead of going to those places with armies and enslaving your people, you're going to borrow money from us and you're never going to be able to pay it back. So you're going to open your markets to us and we're going to put our big agri there and do all that. Yep. Right. It was the same. It's the same stuff. The only difference I would argue is that at least in government constitutions, there are ways of recalling things. There are ways for people to intervene, to vote in ones who are not going to do those things. Whereas if you really do have a monarchy like Musk or Thiel want,
they want that?
Yeah.
They want a monarchy?
Monarchy. Yeah.
I mean, I'm the president of the Peter Thiel Hate Club, but like he wants a monarchy? I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. Look,
can we pull that up?
Yeah.
Thiel likes monarchy?
Yeah. That's what they. That was what Nick Land and who's the other one that they like? Curtis Yarvin. That's what they're all about.
See how that makes no sense though with how do I want to say this? Like quote unquote libertarian conservative politics that Peter Thiel claims to love, if that is the case.
It does if you think we are in a might makes right universe.
Might makes right.
Whoever's the strongest wins. We're all just fighting all the time. We have these laws, but the laws aren't real anyway because the people who control the laws are just the strongest people with the biggest guns. Yeah. So if that's what's happening anyway, then just have the most mightiest person be in charge and get over all this bullshit democracy voting. We're just going through the motions. Democracy is just there to convince people that they're living in something other than might makes right when they're not. And they would say the happiest.
Oh shit, I don't remember that at all, but goddamn, you're cooking. In his 2014 book 0 to 1, Peter Thiel declared monarchy as the best form of government. I read that book twice.
His ideals, he argued that capitalism and democracies diverge, a shift he traced to the expansion of voting rights. His ideal society, wealth-based and male-dominated. Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And there you go, libertarian. He embodies, at times to a cartoonish degree, the contradictions of the libertarian movement. You're perfect. You see, you're a good study there.
Yeah,
a fierce champion of entrepreneurial freedom. He also praises monopolies. Right?
Wow.
So you're right.
Yeah, the monopolies thing, I remember when I just looked at Peter Thiel like as a businessman and didn't know all the shit he did and everything, and I read 0 to 1, I'm like, wow, this guy's a genius. Not to say I agreed with all of it, but I'm like, whoa, the way you can see why he was so successful, which I don't think you should ever underestimate your enemy. He's a brilliant guy. But then you see what, some of it obviously came out in that book and I'm forgetting it, but then you see the actions taken and what he might want. And you're like, this is a world that leaves so many people behind. And, maybe he really is Malthusian and he's like, you know what? Fuck it. A lot of people are going to die because they need to.
Right. He is Malthusian. He does believe in the limits to growth. Actually, the right-wing extremists, the Koch brothers and Thiel and Musk and those guys, they believe more in the limits to growth than Club of Rome does. The difference is the right-wing guys, like those guys, believe that because of the limits to growth, there's not enough for everybody. So we've got to let those millions and billions die.
Why does Musk argue that people need to have kids way more than? He is at the forefront of that movement. And like we do have a birth rate problem in America now, for sure.
It depends if it's a problem. Well, partly it's economic expansion. They want more customers, although now they're realizing, Sam Altman's realizing, future of customers are not human. Their future customers are going to be AIs.
How does an AI pay you?
In crypto. In other words, think about it this way. You're a billionaire sitting in your house and you don't interact with people except your servants and your family, right? So you're up there on the hill.
Yeah.
You want there to be consumers. You want there to be people working. You want workers and you want consumers. And you want them buying and selling and the money going up to you, the profit going up to you. Why do you care if those consumers and producers are human or AIs?
I think it's just foreign for me to even think about something that's not human exchanging currency.
Exactly. But you think of an AI, right? An AI, in order to do its job, it needs energy, it needs data, and it needs processing power.
Oh, fuck.
So where is it going to get those? It will earn money doing its AI tasks, and it will spend that money buying processing power and memory and data center storage and all that from these companies. So they are your consumer at that point, and then they don't need the people anymore.
Deef, can we Google how many current AI data centers does China have, and how many current AI data centers?
Well, China just built one that's as big as like 100 of ours. You heard about they built this giant.
How many square miles?
Yeah, there you go, square foot.
Yeah. So that's a good point.
They built this really big one.
Okay, so the United States leads the global AI infrastructure race with roughly 4,000 to 5,400 total data centers compared to China, which has approximately 350 to 450 publicly tracked facilities. While the U.S. has a massive quantitative lead, China is rapidly scaling its infrastructure and state-led computing hubs to close the gap. And part of that may be exactly what you're saying, which is, where we're building one that's 10 square miles, they're building one that's 110 square miles. Okay, so this is, I want to bring it back around to this too, because we got off this and I think it's important. This is where I see the idea that, you worry about if China got to AGI first, would they use it for worse than we would? I also don't necessarily trust the people we got in charge of that to use it for good either. So that's a problem. But I remember, this is like a full circle kind of thing too. The very first episode I ever recorded for this podcast, which turned out to be episode 6, because I put out 10 episodes day one, was basically a lot of it was discussing Kai-Fu Lee's 2018 book. I believe it was called AI Superpowers. Did you ever read this? So Kai-Fu Lee, Chinese-American technologist guy in the venture capital world, I believe, he was laying out what this race looks like, where it stood, and where it could be going between China and the U.S. And so I see where it's like you'd want to have an advantage, and I was raising this point earlier. Yeah. That said, where it could be such an example of the road to hell is paved with good intentions, where the people that you use, the devil you make the deal with to get that advantage, then fucking eats the whole population. You have Palantir running these fucking places, and then we're living in a surveillance 1984 state. That would be a total L. Right. So how do we try to advance, progress, do good for humanity, also get America in a good position without sacrificing everything that makes that purposeful in the first place?
I mean, the easiest way would be, it's funny to even go here, but have citizens' assemblies making decisions about things. I think people picked at random, not running for office. People picked at random, in groups, and giving them agency over their own regions. Yeah. What's allowed to happen there? It's interesting. China's AI policy, I would think I think is superior to ours.
Why?
Because they realize that hand in hand with AI development, they got to do renewable energy because of all the,
But they emit more smog than
China does. Yeah, but that's why they've been working on it though. But they're also
the global leader. Slow.
They're the global leader in solar, wind, and geothermal, and all these other kinds of energies, and we've put an intentional stop to it. The other thing, funny, you were talking before about crypto and about how so much of crypto is bullshit, and I started to look at crypto as an excuse to sell chips and energy.
An excuse to sell chips and energy.
So Bitcoin, basically, the main thing that Bitcoin is, if you look at Bitcoin as a Martian anthropologist looking at Earth, you say, oh, so they're burning the planet to prove this money has value, right? Bitcoin is we spend energy, we burn fuel in order to value this thing, and we buy chips in order to mine more of it. So the main economic activity of Bitcoin was NVIDIA chips and energy. And then people are like, oh, this Bitcoin stuff doesn't seem real. And then we did NFTs and we got this last burst. Oh, let's burn more.
RIP to an era.
Right.
That was an era.
It was. But we could burn. And then when NFTs died, what happened? AI. And what is AI? A new excuse. More NVIDIA chips, more burning fuel, more building. So it's like, who's really making money on this? Yeah, the AI companies are getting invested in, but what are they spending it on? Chips and oil. Chips and oil. That's where it's all, and now water.
Yeah. Now, all these guys we've been talking about today, well, not all of them, but, the way that you recently came up on the radar again was because I had played that video on one of our weekend episodes with Deef and I, where you were talking, this back in 2020, it was, I believe, right before the pandemic, you did this interview where you were very matter-of-factly explaining about how you had been advising these billionaires on how to deal with the end of the world and, building bunkers, and hilariously explaining like how to be nice to your security guards so that they won't fucking kill you when, money doesn't mean it. I mean, it was hysterical and also very sad to watch, but I appreciated you like totally outing this kind of thing right here. And then ironically, you had been on my friend Danny Jones' show. And so I was like going to hit up Danny like, oh, can you connect me with Doug Rushkoff? But then you texted me like, let's do it. So I'm like, great. But this whole concept of you, long before the pandemic even happened and people were thinking in certain ways like that, obviously before the complete rise of AI and everything, you are somehow thrust into a situation where you're meeting with very wealthy people, very powerful people who are asking you existential questions seemingly about the future of humanity, not with the idea that like, hey, maybe this could happen, but more with the idea that, yeah, this is going to happen, so how do we deal with that? First of all, can you just take me there and tell me how you even got into this conversation or what happened?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I used to get to do talks for like corporations sometimes or rich people, whatever. And this was turned out it was a hedge fund that invited some of their biggest investors to this resort out in the middle of the desert. And they had different speakers and stuff. And I thought they said, oh, we want you to come and do a talk on the future of the digital economy, because I talk about that shit. And, so I was ready to do this talk, and I'm sitting in the green room, and instead of bringing me out, usually they'll come, you do talks, they come out with
I've never done talks.
Oh, a guy comes with a microphone, usually they clip it on, then you go out. And instead they brought these 5 guys in, they sat around this table. And
5 guys.
This is your talk. This is it. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. He said, no, you don't have to talk. And they start asking me all these questions, like the really binary tech bro questions. Like,
what's the lighting like? Is it dark? Like
no, it's a green room. It's in a resort. It's like so
it's bright.
Normal.
They're serving refreshments.
It's bright. It's daytime. Okay. It's the 1 in the afternoon.
They're not wearing masks and shit?
No, no. It was
before
COVID or anything. It was a nice resort. Yeah. It was nice. I had a private hot tub in my unit. It was like a bungalow.
I like bungalows.
And they go around. They had little golf carts taking you around. I mean, this is nice.
Like the electric golf carts?
Yeah. It was a whole thing.
Yeah. Environmentally friendly.
It's very cool. Yeah. But they come in, they're asking me like Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Okay.
Like where to place their bets, alternate or augmented reality or virtual reality.
Oh, I remember when that was huge.
Yeah.
That argument.
And then finally it was like Alaska or New Zealand.
Like, you're like, what?
It's 2018. This is 2018 this happened. I'm like, what? It's like, what's the better place? Assuming climate change happened, where's the better place to put our bunker? Alaska or New Zealand?
So were they only asking you in the context of climate change?
No. And I was like, but that was for that. And there was like, where do we put our bunker for the event?
The event.
That's what they called it. The event.
What did they think it was?
It's climate catastrophe, a pandemic, economic unrest, nuclear war, mass migration, whatever it is, that makes life as we know it unlivable and forces them to go to special place and ride it out or live there forever. And so I then got in. Then I did get into my intellectual dominatrix mode, and then I was like, oh, so you're gonna have a bunker that's gonna somehow, so you and one of them showed me these plans he had of this underground thing that all these shipping containers all together, and he had a heated pool in there.
Heated pool. That's the first thing I would think about.
Yeah, in his thing, and I'm like, dude, there's a guy I know in my neighborhood who's got a heated pool, and all summer, there's always a little van in front of his house with like the guy with the spare parts and the fixing this. It's like a heated pool is a hard thing to maintain. I'm like, where are you going to get the spare parts for your heated pool after the apocalypse? And he's like, opens this moleskin book and he's like, parts for the heat. Like, he hadn't fucking thought of this. It's like, these are like Walking Dead level scenario
when
planners.
they're sending up billionaires, they're not sending their best. God damn it.
So then I'm like, okay, and they're like your water table, your water's contaminated from the nuclear fallout. How long is it going to last? You're going to have filters. Oh, reverse osmosis is going to do the fucking benzene and the radiation and whatever. And then, so they're like, oh no, we got this, and we got scientists on that, and this, and reverse this, and the top water, and the landfill, and the blah, blah, blah. We worked that out. I'm like, okay, so who's going to protect your bunker from the rest of us? From all of us.
The ones that are still alive.
Yeah. It's got, cement gate things, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy's like, I've got Navy SEALs on speed dial. They've got helicopters. They're going to come. They're going to pick us up and bring us out of that. And I'm like, oh, you got Navy SEALs? How are you going to pay your Navy SEALs after your Bitcoin is worthless? Why are they going to stay?
Money don't matter.
Why
no more.
Exactly? And they're like, So then they're like, okay, so we could control it. We could have what if I'm the only person? This is how smart they are, tech bros, billionaires who are richer than us. What if I'm the only person who knows the combination to the place where we keep the food? It's like, Navy SEALs, they don't have any experience getting information out of people. You're going to spend the whole apocalypse getting waterboarded.
I've had a lot of Navy SEALs sitting in that chair. Let me tell you. Wouldn't take
no. Or they said we're going to have chips that'll like control everybody's access to different things, and if they got out of hand, I could always like use it as a shock. Yeah, it's like, they're gonna yank that thing out and fucking kill you in a second. Just even knowing that you're saying that, you've already lost your Navy SEALs.
God, we are so fucked.
I'm funny because I told that story and someone said, dude, they should get Army Rangers, not Navy SEAls.
How long was this meeting?
Less than an hour.
Less than an hour.
Less than an hour. Well, because the whole thing, you got to realize I was not being called into the lair by the wealthy guys. I was the entertainment.
The entertainment.
You
said they had moleskin books and shit.
Yeah, I know. Well, some of them knew I was going to be there. Well, one of them definitely knew because he had his plans. But it was more like, first, I don't know if they all really had plans. They could have also been trying to impress each other. Like, I got this going, I got that, and there were other speakers at this thing. It was like a weekend long. So you just like learn to make an omelet with this famous chef, improve your golf swing with this golf pro, spend an hour with a futurist, so
build your bunker.
Yeah, exactly.
When everyone dies.
And I'm like, why are you asking? I'm a fucking anarchist media theorist about how to build a bunker. I'm just like, love each other, man,
I love that where you're explaining how disconnected these guys were. And you said in the clip where they're asking like how they can build goodwill with their future security guards. And you're like, I don't know, pay for the kid's birthday party or their bar mitzvah or some shit. What I said, exactly. And they're like, oh, wow. So I gotta be nice to him? Yeah,
pay for your head of security's daughter's bat mitzvah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because then they were like, I said, be nice to them, be nice to their family, be nice to their friends. And then one of them, this was one of the last things he said. He's like, yeah, but where does it stop?
What do you mean, where does it stop?
The being nice. Where do you draw? And I'm like, dude, that's the whole thing. We're all in this together. But for me, the thing was, I realized that the people the richest, most powerful people I've ever met felt utterly powerless to impact the future. That the best they could do was have someone like me predict the future and then just...
But they're assuming that future's happening, and they're assuming
inevitable.
They call it. They have a name for it, the event.
Right.
And there's multiple whether it be some climate disaster, whether it be a nuclear holocaust, whether it be a pandemic,
AI taking over.
Like, these are people that have access to people, whether you like them or not. They have access to people who have a lot of information and a lot of simulations and a lot of things that could point to what the actual future is. And it's pretty fucking alarming that they're having this conversation very matter-of-factly with you, even if you are describing yourself as the entertainment. In 2017, this is before COVID, before the rise of AI, before the shit. That is wild.
And these are people who would rather have sex with robots or teenagers than women, right?
Wait a second. Please explain that.
These are people who want to build sex robots. These are people.
The people you were talking to.
Yeah, this is.
They said this?
This is who they are. These are the Epstein kinds of people. They're talking about the culture that we're talking about, right? The culture that we're looking at, the billionaire tech bro culture. What are their values? What do they want? How many wives do they want? Who do they want the wives to be? How much power do they want those people to have?
Right. Can you put the camera on Doug real fast, Steve?
Yeah, it's on.
Let me just write this down on my band. Was that one of them?
Oh, one of the, is that on the camera?
It's not on the camera. You're on camera right now. Yeah, but you couldn't see it on that, but let's make sure that's edited. Was that one of them?
If you want to know.
It's off record.
That's one of them.
God damn it, bro. God damn it. That's so fucked up.
But that's
so fucked up.
Yeah. You know, and I did have a brush with the Epstein crowd, interestingly enough, through the science people.
Yeah. What? So did you ever meet him?
I don't think so.
You don't think?
I don't think so.
You didn't meet Palm Beach Pete?
I don't know who that. Oh, that guy. No. But I was invited to a party in New York thrown by a literary agent who was the literary agent
Brockman?
of the scientist stars,
Yeah.
you know, Dawkins and all those kind of
All
guys,
of them.
and Dennett and Pinker and all,
Every single
you know,
one.
and really, really smart, super smart, smarter than us people.
When is this?
Late 90s. So it was before Epstein was known, before he had gotten arrested the first time, before any of that. But it was basically called like the Millionaires Dinner, or the Billionaires Dinner. And I got to go to it because I was one of the kids writing about the internet. The internet was new. So I was like cyber boy. And I got into this thing. And the guy who was throwing the party said, this is a really special party. I'm going to give you a +1. Make it count. And I'm thinking, these are the smartest people in the world. I invite the smartest woman I know, this woman who runs a website at the time, a literary website.
Not a looker.
It was beyond that. She was the smartest woman I know.
Yeah, I know, but like they were thinking of something else.
Right. And I bring her there, and I get to the party. The guy grabs my wrist. I can still almost feel it. He grabs my wrist, pulls me aside, and he goes, "How dare you waste your +1 on a lesbian?" And I'm like, huh? And I said, this is the smartest person. You said make it count. And he goes, I invited you. You're like 27, 28 years old. I invited you to raise the quotient in the room. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, look. And there are all these like middle-aged guys with like 20, if they're lucky, 20-year-old gorgeous little model people. And I'm like, oh, that's the quotient. Oh, duh. You know, because I was so worried about not being, you're going to go to a thing with Dawkins and you're a young writer.
Right.
You're thinking, I'm not smart enough to be with these people. I'm going to impress them with a fucking genius, you know? And oh my God. And so it turned out that dinner and all those dinners were funded by Epstein. And I got in this fight with Dawkins.
How many people are here?
At that thing?
Yeah.
40, 50.
And where is it?
In New York, in some
what kind of place?
Townhouse, rich person thing. There's some townhouses.
But not his place.
No, I don't think.
You wouldn't remember that.
You would think I would, but I really wouldn't because he wasn't famous
Street?
yet.
Was it on East 71st Street?
Could have been.
God damn it.
It could have been. I just don't know. It was so far. It was so far back when.
All right.
I don't know. It was a very rich person's big place, though. But anyway, so I get in this argument with Dawkins about whether or not there's like a soul or any meaning or anything to this. And he's basically saying that human beings are just basically computers running memes, and we're all, like memes are like genes, and we're just sort of automatic.
How did he say he reached that conclusion?
Because there's only evidence of that. There's no evidence of anything else. Okay. And I was arguing my felt experience is that human beings have souls, and that the universe is leaning towards, morality, and we're trying to make the world better, and we're reaching, that there's an effort, there's some kind of a love or something animating us. And he dismissed me. Finally, he said, "Oh, you're a moralist." I don't even know what that meant, but it's like as a dismissed thing. You're a moralist. And then it's like 20 years later, I see their pictures on the fucking Lolita Express, heading out to the TED on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. And I'm like, okay, I'm the moralist, guilty. I'll take that. Yeah. And it's like, for all the 20, 30 years that I was sad that I never got rich or invited to the right things or being one of those people, I realized, oh, there's a deal you make.
It's a price to pay
for going there.
And that was the only time you ever went to one of those things that you know of that was like funded by him, were you invited by Brockman?
Yeah.
When's the last time you talked to Brockman?
I saw him at a thing. It was weird because then after that, he represented me for a while. And then I saw the article come out that those parties were funded by Epstein. And there was a guy, Evgeny Morozov, really smart guy, kind of more anti-tech, anti-capitalist. He would call me pro-tech because he's like anti-tech.
Okay.
I'm critical about it, but he's like more critical. And he wrote this piece in The Atlantic exposing all that. And I was like, oh, fuck.
When was this?
Whenever Epstein was exposed and all
Back
that.
in 2019, 20.
Yeah, when everyone was exposing those things. And I was like, what the fuck? And he wrote this piece and he said, and he was more philosophically educated than me and better at sort of figuring out a moral conundrum. Because he's this great agent. I'm at this agency. He's not even my agent. I'm at the agency. And he said, the agency needs to make some public acknowledgement and of what happened, some commitment about, or give back the money that the foundation got from this guy, make some repair, and I can stay. And the agency never acknowledged it at all, never did anything. So he left, and then I left the agency then. Because it was just like, you do something.
Yeah, that's one thread that kind of gets ignored these days, and it's been a thread that's been open for a while. Because to be clear, John, you could run through, I don't know if it's still on there, but 2-3 years ago even, you could run through like the organization of everyone who's at least related to Edge Foundation run by Brock. It was fucking everybody. Like there's literally no one. And you have to be objective at that point, and you're like, okay, obviously all these people, all of them aren't down on Epstein Island doing things with kids.
Being in the Edge Foundation meant there was like 500 of us.
I think there was more.
Send. Oh, really? They would send in. What it meant was you would get an email once a year,
just like Club of Rome.
But they would have an email with a question, and it was like, "What's the greatest invention of the last 2,000 years?" And you would give an answer, and if they thought the answer was cool, they'd put it in a book. Yeah. Of the Edge, that's what the Edge was, and then there was.
But you get access to stuff too because you're in the fraternity.
I didn't, but there was the people who were really in it. They would get to go to. It was interesting. They would have like seminars, like they did a thing on, and ultimately it turned out they were into kind of dark stuff, behavioral finance. They got into that behavioral psychology, behavioral finance, which is sort of how do you get people to make financial decisions that are against their own best interests. And it was like, oh, that's what you're interested in. But so there were inner things, or if you were, Dawkins or Daniel Dennett or Steven Pinker, you got invited. They would like take a cruise around Antarctica or go to Galapagos. You know what I mean? They did cool things if you were, but I wasn't.
You didn't get to go to Antarctica?
No,
you weren't looking at the pyramids under the ground?
No, I was more periphery. But there were, I mean, I met Alan Alda. He was in there because he got really interested in science. He did narration for some cool science things.
But from that one experience at the party you went to that you didn't know was sponsored by Epstein, you remember having an intellectual argument with Dawkins, and that was kind of it?
2 strikes. 1 strike against them was that this is a party where I was supposed to bring a hot woman.
Right.
Is like, oh, this is some weird misogynistic thing going on here that I don't understand, and creepy and whatever. And the second was that these guys are calling me a moralist and laughing at me for believing in something, in anything. Right. That as if having faith in anything. I'm not saying there's God. Don't worry. I won't say there's God. I'm just saying that there's, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to be that radical. I'm just saying, that there's, because I'm among scientists, talking about God things. Like, oh no, you're.
There's a lot of scientists that do believe in God, though.
Yeah, I know.
A lot.
I know, but these ones, there was a hyper vigilance against any of that, and that's because if you believe in the sacredness of the other human, and you can't do that shit to them.
Right. Oh my God, that's a great point.
You can't 12-year-old girl if you believe human beings have souls. Yeah. And so what happened was people like Epstein ended up admiring very staunch atheist scientists, because these scientists were creating a permission structure. There's nothing going on here. There's nothing inside that person. It's just genes. It's just memes. They're not real.
You just unintentionally, in my opinion, made the most fucked up but legitimate other argument, just another one added to the list, of believing in a higher power, because of the way you just described those people, and I don't think you're wrong at all. I think it's pretty telling too that you, as a younger guy, among the other people there, went to something like this. You say you didn't know the context of it and everything and all that, but even back then, when you knew nothing about what they actually really do, walked away going, yeah, that just...
And it's Spidey sense. It's all Spidey. We all have it all the time.
Good for you.
And there's so many things we can do that repress your Spidey sense. I mean, I feel like being online all the time is probably bad for Spidey sense. Yeah. But that feeling in your gut, it's so real. You can trust it. You can really trust. You meet a person and it's like,
man.
It's it. And the fact that you know it means that everybody knows it on some level. So don't lie. Because people know you're lying, even if they don't know consciously you're lying. Inside, they know you're lying, and they know what's like. So it's like it makes life so much easier in the end.
Right.
If you're just like, oh man,
right,
I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just gonna Spidey it out.
Yeah. Now go, and so you never went to something like that again, as far as you know, like some party like that where he's involved, and you don't remember seeing him or anything like that?
No, that's why he could have been at that one, but it might have been something that he funded
and wasn't
at.
Interesting. Interesting. And that's the crazy thing, man.
I mean, I spoke at MIT.
You spoke at MIT,
right?
In what context?
I went to Media Lab to talk about a book. And then it turns out, you know what I mean? A lot of people, but that's the thing. A lot of people have been in Club of Rome. A lot of people
have been at Harvard. There's some line there at some point where it's like, okay, we're probably making a reach. And then there's things where it's like, you're not. And it kind of is like, whoa, like why? Is everyone around that poison? And that's the thing. That's unfortunately what made Epstein and Maxwell, while they were operating, so effective at their game, is that they knew all they had to do was take a picture with you, and there would always be the question. That's all it would be. Right. There would always be the question, like,
I wasn't important enough for anyone to want a picture of me. How much? I wasn't a bestseller.
Either way, there's people who will listen right now and be like, oh, he went to a party with them or whatever, and they'll be like, maybe. And that's a really tough thing because they knew so many people.
Right. And I didn't know them, but that's the whole point. For me, the whole point is, you're going to run in sometime in your life, you're going to run into sketchy people, especially if you start publishing look at you. You're going to run into sketchy people. Of course it's going to happen. And the only thing you've got is your Spidey, because they'll have money, they'll have opportunity, they'll have women. I mean, whatever they have, they'll have. And it's like, I mean, for me, I was lucky. I was a Gen X, counterculture, determined to stay poor. You know what I mean? There was a bunch of us. We were like slackers. So we were optimizing for something else. So the traditional temptations didn't quite apply to me. You know, it was like, I don't know what. It would have been something else. Yeah. You know?
No, to go back to it, though, that less than 1 hour meeting, as you describe it, with, say, 5 billionaires out there, I'm still mind-blown.
And I think it was 4 billionaires and 1 almost billionaire when I tried to look them up.
I'm sorry to hear that from that guy. But you say so matter-of-factly, I guess that first of all, did you know any of these guys before they walked in the room?
No, I knew of one of them.
You knew of them, but you didn't know them.
No, they weren't like Zuckerberg level. But because I asked them even that. I said, I thought you guys are making rocket ships to get off the planet. They go, we're low level.
We're not there yet.
We're low level billionaires.
Only like 5-6 billion. But like, you said it in a way that would suggest they were extremely open about it, that they were into sex with underage girls and robots.
No.
They weren't open about it. No. You picked up on that.
I picked up that they're of that culture.
Now, what made you pick up on the fact that they were of that culture?
That they, morally, that they were perfectly okay with leaving humanity behind. You know, they just seemed, and I guess I'm drawing them with a inaccurate non-journalist's brush.
That's okay.
Right?
Pure
spec.
I
brushed up against these kind of folks 2 or 3 times in my life, right? Once at that party.
That's it? Only 2
at the thing.
That's kind of low for a guy of your, like, the types of things you talk about. I would imagine they were all over you.
I know. Or giving money to my Team Human show.
They're like, what a rude.
I want a sponsor. It's like I got like 2 or 300 people paying $2 a month. It's like, where's one tech bro? They're not, no, they're not.
But 2 or 3 times you were obviously.
I feel in presence of those kind of people, you know, and it's energetically and it's just they just really don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess it's more like it's not that they are, it's more like they could be. Like I talk to people who've met like James Dolan or something, and they just go, "Ooh, he gave me the creeps." Yeah. You know,
I feel like that's everybody.
You know, I saw Harvey Weinstein once at a party, and I was like,
when?
Oh, in late 80s. Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. He was the Merchant Ivory. They were big producers even then. And he just like, he looked like a Mossad agent or someone. You know, he's big. You know what I mean? Like he could just.
No, I don't know what you mean.
He was scary. He
looked like you pegged him as a Mossad agent?
Well, like
that's interesting.
Not like a Mossad guy or Special Forces Mossad, you know, like an Israeli guy who could just crush my neck, you know. It just he had a scary, imposing presence.
So you picked up on that in the late 80s, early 90s.
There's certain guys
they got a look in their eye.
They do, and you're just like, oh, stay away. Stay away.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's funny because
but everyone has it.
What do you mean?
I think everyone would look at those same people and go, ooh, I think we all have that instinct.
But here's the thing. I think enough people didn't or subconsciously look the other way with a guy like that.
Because he's got something else I want.
Power.
Right? He's got some power I want. Yeah.
God, it's it's dark, but it's also fascinating to just like consider.
Yeah. I got to pee again.
Okay. We'll be right back. All right, we're back on air. We were just talking off air on this. You said you got into 12 steps, but you're not an alcoholic?
Right, 12 steps. Well, we're something else anonymous, right?
Okay.
We call it Capitalist Anonymous or Ego Anonymous or we as a species, we as a civilization are addicted to something, right? Some sort of disconnection from nature, accumulation of money, saving stuff, security. We're addicted to this abstracted way of dealing with the world. And when you look at something like 12 steps, it's just the steps that are involved. It's like a Quaker meeting, right? They just get together and fellowship and share where they're at. The first thing you do is you accept a higher power. It doesn't have to be God, but the kind of stuff we were talking about before, that there's something else going on here. You make amends with other people. It's like the things that sort of, it feels like we could almost take Western civilization through 12 steps, and we'd get to a better place. And I just like the way it's organized. It's that anarcho-syndicalist thing we were talking about. There's all these individual groups. They're all their little meetings run themselves, but they're also part of this big network doing sort of the same thing. You can go anywhere in the world and find a 12-step meeting and go and do your thing there.
Right.
So I just like it as a lot of things about that model I really like. That's why it's funny, like at the beginning of Fight Club, remember how they meet? They're all going to different self-help meetings because they're looking for that lost
and a common connection. Yeah, of course. That's interesting. No, because it also goes back to what you were first writing about when you were getting into the tech scene and like thinking about what the world was going to be. You were thinking about a world where humanity could integrate correctly with tech for the good of humanity, rather than tech taking over humanity and rendering it obsolete.
Right.
Which has been a theme of other parts of our conversation as well today. But like, now that we are 30, 35 years down that road from when you were first writing about it, like, how do we make sure that in a world of where there's people like Sam Altman's and Peter Thiel's saying, a few of us may transcend, but humanity itself probably won't survive. It'll be something different. How do we what are the ways that we make sure collectively, as even like a world population, that like that thought process doesn't win, and a tool like AI can be a great use case to us and something that takes us to the next level and allows all of us to enjoy it rather than people to die off? It's a loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. First, I think it's good to be able to distinguish between technologies that bring us together and technologies that pull us apart.
Okay, what would be 2 examples in your mind of that?
I mean, social media doesn't really bring you together, right? Yeah. Social media, when you know now how it's designed, it doesn't. But you could look at something like Reddit. And it's interesting, and it kind of does. And then you think, well, what is the difference between Reddit and social media? Well, Reddit has moderators in each subreddit. Yeah. So they're sort of, the moderators are there to try to help keep it cohesive and social. So that's sort of one thing. And think as much about, are you going to bring an app into your ecosystem? I know you worry about your phone. If you're going to put an app there, is it going to fuck up my phone? But is the app going to fuck up you? What are you bringing into your day? What are you and really to think about that. And the other thing I started to advocate is for, this was like in 99. I said, we should do a tech Shabbat, tech Sabbath. Like 1 day a week where you don't use screens.
I think that's not a bad idea at all.
1 day a week. It's like the Israelites gave it to themselves first thing in the desert. We got 1 day off. You don't have to produce or consume. Because the idea that they did it then was to say a human being is sacred just the way you are. That's enough. You don't need to do anything in order to justify your existence. Right. So to take 1 day a week where you say, I can just be. I don't have to swipe anything. I don't have to send an email. I don't have to... And to get off the screen too, and then you see other people. What are you going to do? You play games, walk around, pet your dog. I mean, there's all these other things besides the app one. So there's that sort of on the one hand. And the other for me is, I think the path to the kind of empowerment you're talking about is local. It's like the simple stuff. I used to do this talk called Borrow a Drill. And
Borrow a drill?
Borrow a drill. Yeah, it was based on this story that happened to me when my daughter graduated high school, and we had the picture of her, and I had to stick it on the wall, and I got these plaster walls. So I can't just put a nail in there, so I need to get a drill. So first thing I'm thinking I'm going to do, like any American, I'm going to go to Home Depot, get a minimum viable product, rechargeable drill, charge it up, drill a hole, stick it in the garage, and maybe never take it out again. Or if I do, it'll be a year from now. It's not going to charge, and I'll throw it away. So I sent one kid into the mines to get the rare earth metals to make the rechargeable lithium battery for this thing and the carbon footprint. Use the thing once and throw it out, and some other kid is going to pick at it on a pile of toxic waste in Brazil to get the renewable part to sell it to Apple so they can say they make great computers.
Right.
Or I can walk down the street and knock on my neighbor Bob's door. Bob's always routing doors and things in his driveway. And okay, Bob, can I borrow your drill? And why am I so reluctant to go to Bob and say, Bob, can I borrow your drill? Right. And it's because I'm afraid if I go to knock on Bob's door, he's going to say, not only can you borrow my drill, but actually I'm going to come over and drill the hole for you because you don't know how to do an anchor. You don't know how to do a stud. You're a fucking nerd. He's going to drill the hole, put in the anchor with the butterfly thing, whatever it is that I need, and get it in there and put up the picture, with a drill that plugs in the wall like God intended, and go home. Then that weekend I'm going to have the barbecue party for my daughter, the graduation party. And Smoke's going to go over to Bob's house. He goes, Doug's having fucking sirloin steaks over there at his house. Graduation party for his daughter. I hung the fucking picture and he didn't even invite me, right? So I'll invite Bob. All right, now I invite Bob. And now, Helene over on the other side of the block. What? Since when is Doug friends with Bob? He invites Bob. So now I got to invite Helene. And if I invite Helene and Bob, I'm going to have to invite everyone on the block to the graduation party. So my whole block is going to be there at a graduation party. And that's the bad thing? That's the bad thing? That's the good thing. But
we flipped it.
We flipped it. We flipped it. Oh my God, we flipped it. And then when everyone's there at the barbecue party, we're going to say, oh, why did this happen? Oh, because I borrowed a drill from Bob, so I wouldn't have to buy one myself because I don't really need a drill. I'm only going to use it once every 2 years. Then someone's going to say, well, I only use my lawnmower once a week. How much do you use yours? What if we had 2 lawnmowers for the whole block? And all of a sudden we're going to start sharing things and be friends. And I gave that talk and told that story. And someone got up at the end, some business guy, and said, well, yeah, but when you're all doing all that, what about the lawnmower company? What about the lawnmower company? How are you going to grow this economy if you start sharing lawnmowers with each other?
God forbid we helped each other out. God forbid we weren't suspicious of it. Like even below the final point there of like the guy thinking of it from an economic standpoint, before you even get there, the social dynamics of that. We used to live in a world, pre-internet even, forget pre-phones, where the block raised the kids, right? Everyone in some way could parent. There was a trust. There was a social contract and bond. People didn't have this extremely suspicious outset at you for everything. And what I feel like technology has done, specifically social media, is we had all these apps that were built to connect us, but they really divided us mentally because they made us be suspicious of every other fucking thing that someone else could be doing, thinking, or even acting on about you. And it also made you personally narcissistic without you realizing it. And I'm not even getting to the points of like posting yourself and stuff like that, but like you're constantly thinking people are paying attention to this. Everyone is focused on me right now, out of the crowd, wondering about every little thing I'm doing and judging me for it, to the point that then it affects you in the real world, so that you could see people or come across people that you know but don't even really know a lot, but you assume that they're making assumptions about you and vice versa. And it creates this almost like, I don't mean to make this too meta, but like electromagnetic force field between people. And I have watched this get worse and worse and worse over the last especially 10 years. And I don't really know how we put that rabbit back in the hat when, even if you look at like kids coming up right now, like, in high school who are getting into dating or something like that, they're growing up in a world where they have to make assumptions about, oh my God, what is that group text going to say about me? And what is his group? The girl's like, what is his group text going to say about me? To where you can't just like feel each other out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it is totally, it's like anti-evolutionary.
Yeah. I mean, there was always peers involved, I guess. You meet someone and how does your gang feel about
Sure, but it
them?
wasn't
And
viral ability.
It wasn't exactly. And it was in some ways, there were positive aspects even to that. Different generations. He's no good for you. You know? There was a little of that. I know it's hard. And the thing is, it's not just tech. This is older. I mean, I did research back when I wrote this book called Life, Inc. And I was looking at the sort of the corporatization of America and how people were turning into corporations and corporations were turning into people.
Oh, wow.
It was really fun and dark, but fun. And I found out, you know, like, have you ever heard of Levittown? It's this the first giant suburb development
Pennsylvania?
In Long Island.
Levittown, no. I don't know.
It's one of the first ones. And it was built by these guys, the Levitt brothers. And you can see there are these letters that the Levitt brothers were writing to Franklin Delano Roosevelt about they're going to build this suburb and it's going to be a way to prevent a rebellion by the returning World War II veterans. We're going to have all these houses. They're all going to be zoned just a little far apart. Men are going to have to work on the lawn.
Shit.
They're not going to have any gathering places, no social gathering places. They're going to all have a mortgage. So it was calculated. You have a mortgage that forces you to keep your job and always you're a little bit in debt.
GI Bill?
Yeah. The GI Bill. You're going to have a yard that you're going to have to take care of. So you're going to be busy on the weekend. The woman is going to be in the kitchen in the back and the kids are going to play there. And it was designed to promote social alienation so that we wouldn't gather and and, you know, and I get it. Men are dangerous and we might have labor movements and, you know, whatever. But they thought it would be benevolent. Everyone gets a house and a wife and their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Road to hell kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Paved with those wonderfully good intentions.
You know, there was a movie Brando did in the early 50s called The Men. You ever see this? Where we can pull it up, Deef, but he plays a wounded, disabled veteran of World War II. And, you know, the movie obviously covers a lot of that and dealing with that, but it shows a lot of amazing imagery of exactly what you're talking about. This almost like ant farm system that's set up. White picket fence house, white picket fence house. They all look the same. It's open, no trees, just grass, and each unit lives here, and you just live your life. You save up for a 401k. That's the American dream, and you die. You know, it's like they systematically, there you go, created that plan. And listen, there were some good aspects to, like, there was more nuclear families back then. There was, you know, you didn't have technology separating each other as much. You had good
but you
social
only had room
interaction.
for the nuclear family in there. There wasn't room for grandma in there. So
Took away the tribe.
It did, because the tribe's going to share stuff. If you have all these different families, you're going to have more consumers.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to need their own everything. And at the time, it didn't seem like a bad thing because the economy could grow forever. The factories would grow forever until around 1969 or 70 when the Club of Rome came out and said, you know, everyone having to buy one of everything forever may not work. There may be social limits to growth. There may be physical limits to growth and economic limits to growth. That maybe everyone having an individually air-conditioned home is going to backfire on us in some way. We're going to make the world hotter. That's going to require more air conditioning.
Well, here's the other thing there. This was a creation, was a unnatural creation in a way of a post-World War II middle class, which began okay because there was a burgeoning middle class that built the boom years of this country, no pun intended there. Then you get the official going off the gold standard in 71, 72. That had already started really with FDR, and you could go back to 1913 with the Fed. And, you know, Pinker in Enlightenment Now, I know Pinker gets a lot of bad press, righteously so these days.
He says some really
smart guy. You ever read the book Enlightenment Now in 2018? So, you know, it's a positive book in the sense that he's showing, listen, things don't always work on a straight chart up, but over time, it's provable by every statistic from sustenance to all the basic things that humanity is in the best part of history right now overall on a rolling 10-year basis or whatever it was at all times. That said, there was one alarming chart, and he pointed it out as alarming in that book, which showed specifically since the beginning of the 1980s, the wealth gap and the destruction as you can call it, of the middle class. And it also then correlates with a more technological society where it used to be winner take all would be, like a John D. Rockefeller could control oil, and that would certainly be a lot, but they'd break them up with trust busts, and someone who was wealthy wasn't a billionaire. They were worth 10 million or something like that. But as technology came out and global scale came out, someone could be worth 10 billion, 20 billion, 100 billion, a trillion eventually. And they become a country, like a powerful, Elon Musk is a powerful country as a man. We've never seen that at scale in society in the highest parts. And so when I look at that and I see this going away, and I see that, 54% of Americans don't have $500 in their savings account. Eventually, if a trend like this continues, to bring it back to like that end times type scenario, if a trend like this continues and people can't eat while other people are trillionaires, one event that could happen, and I'm not rooting for this, I'm throwing this out as an analytical possibility, is that people get in the streets if inflation gets to 40%, 50%, and they can't fucking feed their families, or they don't have a job and AI's taken over. And now you have real class revolution warfare, like French Revolution style.
Right.
And I think that people like
I
hope that doesn't happen.
That could be the intent.
But that could, the fact that people think that can't happen, it can't happen here. Brother, it could. Do you ever think about that as the possibility, that that's what brings down the House of Cards?
Oh, yeah. Bloody revolution. And it's then the question is, will Elon Musk have his droid armies in time?
Jesus Christ. His droid armies?
Well, that's when someone asked him, why do you need $1 trillion? And it's when he said, I've got to have enough money to control the droid armies.
I can't even. I'm glad
he didn't say it against us necessarily.
But still, the idea, I can't even think like that. I mean, I don't have that money
I think
either.
It goes somewhere else. I mean, there have been peaceful revolutions too.
Where?
Like in Czechoslovakia, and
that was peaceful.
Yeah, well, they had candles and held hands and stuff until the guy left.
They did?
Yeah. Not Yugoslavia. That was bad.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was a civil war.
I have my Slavias mixed up. Yeah. It's because I feel like there were a few genocides.
Czech. It was called he could look it up. Had some great name.
Czechoslovakian Candle Revolution.
They did these vigils every day. They just stood outside. Basically, everyone went into the streets and they just stood there with candles.
Good for them. So it was peaceful.
You do general strike. There's ways to do it.
All right. So the candle demonstration or candle manifestation on March 25th, 1988, was the first mass protest against the communist regime in Czechoslovakia since 1969. Around 5,000 peaceful believers gathered in Bratislava's, I'm not going to be able to say it right,
they got
Square to demand religious civil rights, and were brutal. This is a point, though. They were brutally suppressed by police. So, all right, the protest, thousands of unarmed citizens gathered quietly with only lit candles and a conscience. The reaction, state security violently dispersed the nonviolent crowd using water cannons and batons, detaining dozens and injuring many. And so, then it turns into, they had to do real revolution after. That's my point.
They didn't, though.
They didn't?
They gathered quietly. They kept doing it.
They still do. All right, let's go down.
They got there. They got the Velvet Revolution in 1989.
The Velvet Revolution, widespread democratization in Czechoslovakia is formerly known as the Velvet Revolution, which took place a year and a half after the candle demonstration. Another peaceful student demonstration in Prague was severely beaten by riot police, sparking massive nationwide outrage, created movement. Millions of Czechs and Slovaks joined daily strikes and peaceful protests, heavily utilizing candles and chants. The result was the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia surrendered its monopoly on power in just over... Wow. Okay. Wow,
That's
you're right.
when they got Václav Havel. Playwright.
By December, dissident and playwright Václav Havel was elected as the new president. So it's possible. That's good. That's cool. Because we live in a country that had a violent revolution that worked. And when you see afterwards, it worked and they made something pretty amazing in the Constitution. But when you look at most violent revolutions that happen around the world, it doesn't work.
It doesn't. You just when you're a violent revolutionary, you often just recreate the oppression.
Yeah.
You become your attacker.
What do you make of, we've been talking about some of these billionaires and stuff all day, but you've been in these circles where people talk about, the idea of like transhumanism and ascending to some other type of, I don't know, race of species or whatever. Number one, I guess let's just start with, what do you make of all that? And do you think any of that is legitimate at all, or it's just like a dark,
on the one hand,
cop-out?
we're all transhuman already.
What do you mean?
We use glasses. You got stitches on your arm. I mean,
how does that make me transhuman? I'm still human.
You're still human, but I mean, transhuman is just that you've got technology embedded in who you are. We've taken antibiotics. We've used technology to be
Where's
here.
the line on that, though, that stops you from being human?
It depends. I mean, it depends. Where is the line on it? If you lost your arms and replaced them with, bionics, you're still human. Your heart and then your liver, then, where would the line be? The thing is, it's like, I feel like it's one thing to like repair yourself with whatever is around, right? And it's another to seek to kind of leave your humanity behind, to see the human as in need of upgrading, again, it goes back to faith, but I think there's some built-in challenges to our existence that are part of it, like breathing.
Okay.
Right, we breathe. And I think breathing is really fundamental, not just to our respiration, but to kind of who we are and how we are.
Yes.
So if the air starts getting really bad, and then the tech bros or whatever come up with, we've got this new thing, you won't have to breathe anymore. It's a new blood thing that'll somehow pre-oxygenate your blood. I think letting breathing go you may lose other things with it. When we talk about genes and all, a lot of the genomics bros talk about junk DNA. Like, that's junk DNA. Leave that behind. It's like, none of my DNA is junk. It's the past. It might be stuff you don't know what it's there for, but it's there. It's resonating. It's the library. It's if we were chameleons or monkeys or whatever, I'm keeping that history there. It's not that heavy,
right?
Not that burden. So it's like the risk is where we start oversimplifying or start optimizing for very particular values of the moment, rather than a little bit of accepting what this is. Like you could say, we're living in a moment where we have all these feelings about other people, and it's making us really hard to kill them and eat them. It's like, what if, let's get rid of those feelings. Let's engineer that out.
Engineer out empathy.
Well, in a certain situation, I could see why you wouldn't want that anymore. Yeah. So it's like, there's a balance, and where do you find the balance? Is in your Spidey.
Yeah, but hold on a minute.
I'm going to splint my arm or replace my finger,
But getting rid of that takes us back evolutionarily, in my opinion. Like if you got rid of empathy as a gene, what makes you different from a T-Rex dinosaur at that point? You just fucking eat things.
Yeah.
You don't care. You don't feel. You inflict pain. You don't view it as inflicting pain. It's survival, right?
And that could be the birth of the true superhero. Turn off that empathy. Well, you get a super soldier that way anyway.
Yeah, well, that gets scary. Some of these guys, though, whether it be the Peter Thiels or the whatever, who are going to ascend and all that, what do they view as a breakaway civilization if it's not multiplanetary? Like, what does it look like?
I don't know. Uploading to the machines.
Like the Matrix?
Yeah, but in a good way, I guess.
In a good way.
Where you don't have to die. They don't want to die. That's what it really comes down to.
But other people need to die for them to not die and for it to be worth it, because they need to have the resources to live and be able to subsist forever.
I would say they think of it more as a whatever.
A what?
It's not other people. If other people have to die, then they do. But whatever. Yeah. all things being equal, no, they don't have to die. They can live as long as I get to get up to the next place. But the more of them that are around, the more people around that could unplug the thing that I'm living on.
Did any of these guys believe in God?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So why does Peter Thiel go around and lecture people about the Antichrist?
Right. He might, but he's got an interesting take on God.
What's his take on God?
Oh, it's sort of like, certainly God's not, it's not the God of Jesus that blesses the meek, and it's the God of the Ubermensch.
Yeah.
It's as if somehow Christ-likeness is an achievement.
Rather than a previous example?
Or I would think that becoming Christ-like would involve more of a surrender to this, more
I don't
of a
think
surrender
guys like that
than
surrender, though, right?
They don't. They win.
Yeah. What is this, Steve? We got a quote from Emil Cioran.
Oh, yeah, I had this up earlier from when you guys were talking.
Ambition is a drug that turns its addicts into potential madmen.
Yeah, you were talking about, like, there's something we're all addicted to. I think it's that.
That could be how he views God, the God of ambition. I'm pure spec, obviously, but...
Yeah. Ambition, more, more. It's almost an addiction for addiction's sake. It's kind of dopamine without the other reward chemicals. How do I keep feeding that? And it's fear of intimacy. If you really can't be, if you're really going to be intimate, you end up in a state of surrender. You know what I mean? You the boundary between you and the other person kind of disappears, and you're there. And if you're there, if you don't like that feeling, then the only way you can get something like it is by dominating, like kind of controlling and be over it. Squish the bug, burn the worm. That you create a similar kind of clutch, but without the vulnerability.
How do you stay so happy and optimistic when you have had access to some of the most powerful people who give you every reason to be otherwise?
I'm not optimistic.
You're not optimistic.
I'm happy.
You're happy. Can you explain that?
Yeah. If you were on the deck of the Titanic and you're a musician and you know it's going down, would you choose to pick up your violin, play music for the people as they go down? And would you be in a state of bliss, having realized your life's purpose? You are celebrating life. You're there.
Or you're the soundtrack to the end.
At least you're playing music on the deck of the Titanic as it goes down. If you're the people, and there were in Auschwitz, there were people who were taken from the barracks and being brought to the gas chamber. It's a famous story. I forgot which exactly who it was. And they, as they were being taken, they were forgiving the guards, saying, "It's okay. It's going to be okay. We understand." That was their impulse. To be that person, you are
transcend.
You are living in infinity at that point. You are living in the compassion. And I'm not saying we're doomed. I'm not saying there's a great possibility humanity can survive another century or two.
That's it. I mean, that's not exactly fucking positive. Another century or two, I might be alive to see it end.
Well, what is it, right? But no, humanity could some amount of humans could still make it, and there's
low bar here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Low bar. It's so much easier to be happy if you have a low bar, right?
Oh man.
It's like, oh man, I got another meal today. I got a meal.
Now that's different though. Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on a minute. That's different. To be grateful for the little things and be happy by things that are otherwise expected on the daily and built into just what you know. I think that's a good way to live. But to have the bar so low for like the hope of the survival of like the human race and how we exist on this crazy fucking planet where everything works.
But it makes it easier to adopt the, let's call it strategy that I'm talking about.
And what's
which
that?
Is the small things, your neighbors. Who are the 20 bodies you're sleeping closest? Who are the people living next to you? Why don't you take joy in helping, in sitting with an old woman who doesn't have company, in teaching a kid how to read, in that's where you find the joy, not in amassing $1 billion empire.
Yeah.
That's not where it is. It's not where it's at.
And that's the thing though, Doug. I don't think that, like that quote is great, Thief. Ambition is a drug that turns its addicts into potential madmen. I love that it says potential madmen because it's two ways, Western man. You can either have ambition to create something and bring something better to the world where then you're compensated in a good way for it and then you put that forth in a good moral way within the world. You don't do evil and you treat people well and, I don't know, create jobs and environments. Or you say, gimme, more. Let's go. I need it. Fuck you. I'll take it from you. Those are the two potentials of ambition. And there are a lot of people out there, and I believe this, who are ambitious and they'll go the right way with that. The problem is when you get really ambitious people who are sociopathic and will just amass more and more and more, they get such a big piece of the pie that they can put their finger on the scale more than the rest of us.
Yeah. Or for ambition, you could look at the Bolsheviks who started out ambitious for universal justice and ended up putting people in the gulag.
That's right. See it again and again and again.
Again and again, which is why you keep pulling it back to the moment. Look at what am I doing right now?
Yeah.
And you can really figure out if what you're doing right now, how good or bad is it?
That's right. What do you think happens when we die?
I wonder, I wanted to do a book at one point where I asked like all different like religious leaders what happens when we died to figure it out.
Oh, you should do that.
I did a drug recently called Bufo, which is like a frog venom, DMT, 5-MeO-DMT.
Bufo?
Yeah, and I think that's
did that.
I think that's what happens when we die. I think we have the opportunity to really exhale.
To exhale.
To let go of this. To diffuse back into the quantum hole. And I think we're more conscious than ever, but it's less, you're not there anymore.
More conscious than ever.
Right. You're part of something that's way more conscious than we are.
What does that mean?
But you lose the boundary of self. It's hard to explain. I think we do, the closest I could say it is we dissolve back into the whole.
And does that, and the dust aspect of it that was Steve saying back here, does that imply that there's some sort of then we rise from the ashes and a reincarnation?
I think that stuff recycles, but it might not be your stuff that recycles as a single unit again.
I mean, just a piece of it?
Dissolve into like if you're a droplet,
okay,
you go and you go into the cloud of droplets, and then another droplet rains. So some of your droplets in that droplet that rains, but it might not be your droplet.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah, you go back into
butterfly
the mix.
effect kind of thing.
Yeah, you mix into the stuff, but you dissolve again into the stuff.
You should do that book. Asking the religious leaders.
Oh yeah, it'd be fine.
That would be great. Do you think that we are alone in the universe, or do you think there's other intelligent life out there?
I don't think we're alone. I don't think we're alone. I think the whole I think the whole universe is conscious. I'm kind of more an animist or something. I think the whole thing has an awareness.
Meaning it's a body in and of itself.
Yeah, there's some,
So we could be cellular membranes within the body. And not
we're
know
doing
it.
biological life is this one experiment it's running. You know?
So in this simulation of the simulation of the simulation, we could be the white blood cells.
Yeah.
And just the sum whole of every action that happens on this earth creates whatever that cellular action is.
I'm interested. I mean, there could be other than carbon-based life forms. What would that be? You know, but there's probably, because there's so much stuff out there, there's probably some other place. But we got to realize this is special, almost more special temporally than spatially. We've had a really good 20,000, 40,000 years of temperate, perfect little Earth climate thing. It doesn't last forever.
Unless we innovate a way to do that.
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like we could do
We
that.
could, and life was a great innovation to do that. Life is really good at homeostasis. The getting rid of so much life on the planet at once is really bad for trying to keep that balance that Earth has managed. But yeah, there could be ways. We'll see.
Well, Doug, this has been awesome, man.
Dude,
we had
good to meet you.
It's great to meet you as well.
Yeah.
And we had a wild, very far-reaching conversation I'm going to have to think some more about. But
a lot of yours are like this, though.
I appreciate that. We do a lot of different topics in here, which I like. But you're a lot of fun to talk to. You've obviously known a lot of people, good and bad, in your life, which is interesting to hear about it so openly here. And, as an optimist, I'd like to think we figured this thing out, and maybe some of the people that are trying to figure it out for us don't get the chance to do that.
Right.
Yeah. All right. We will link your website, your socials.
Team Human.
And Team Human.
Yeah.
And any books down below, so everyone go check that out.
Cool.
And let's do this again sometime.
All right.
All right.
Around.
Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace.
What's up, guys? Thanks so much for watching the video. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button before you leave, as well as leaving a like on the video. It's a huge, huge help. You can join my Patreon via the link in the description, and you can also join my clipping community via the Discord link down below. See you for the next episode.